You're probably wondering what we are doing standing in a surprisingly nice hotel room with one of the world's most accomplished thieves. I guess the Zentarum operative's pretty good too. Well, I can tell you. Yesterday evening, a group of thieves attempted to rob the gala celebrating the inauguration of the new Open Lord of Waterdeep, a rather self-entitled dick named Ranulf Ilvastarr. Turns out that the theft was a diversion, so that this woman here, Cecile Dubois, could steal a gem called the King's Tear from the adjoining museum. We, that is me, Howell, Alec, and Génie, investigated this theft and tracked Cecile here after much debate. The issue is, we kind of promised the Zentarum that we'd turn Cecile over to them, though that was before we knew that Cecile is fleeing them because their leader, Al-Zalam, who also happens to be Howell's uncle, asked her to kill innocent people. We also kind of promised to turn Cecile over to the Harpers so that Lord Dickfaster wouldn't keep harping on about how ineffective heroes are. But now Cecile has offered us information about her employer, and in turn the King's Tears, if we help her escape both the Zentarum and the Harpers. We're in what I believe the philosophers term a moral pickle.
You are, at present, standing in Cecile's hotel suite, where you encountered her, and she, still in her nightclothes, sat up in bed, now with a cup of tea, that she seems completely relaxed at your presence. Not in any way perturbed by the Oriana floating above her in sort of like half spectral form. Alec still has little marks in his sleeves from where Cecile shot crossbow bolts to prevent Alec from rooting through papers, nor indeed by the presence of Génie or Howell in her room. She is rather relaxed, as I say, drinking a cup of tea this morning, and has explained to you her position, that she wishes to be neither turned over to the Zentarum or to the Harpers, and it's kind of up to you what you would like to do now. Is there anything else you would like to ask her? Are there any things you would like her to clarify?
Did we find out who she was working for?
She has promised to give you information about her employer if you don't turn her over to either the Harpers or the Zentarum, but in essence, help her fake her own death.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got to fake her. Oh, but we could kill her.
Okay.
Writing that down as an option.
Distracted enough that I can root through her papers.
You can have another go. Make a sleight of hand check.
That's a natural 20.
Okay.
22.
Wow.
Yeah, in this instance, she is distracted enough that you can rifle through some of her papers. The top set of papers is, as you kind of saw through your scrying spell, a set of schematics for the gala. For the gallery, in which the gala is being held. Also the shift pattern of the guards, including the food order usually placed by Eric, the security guard, whose food was drugged, you recall. You also find a letter to Cecile from someone who has signed the letter with the initials... with the initials TA.
It's Tim Allen.
TheAglarion. Dan's written himself in already.
He's already in there, kind of.
But
Can I read the whole letter?
You can glance over the letter. The letter is essentially a set of instructions asking Cecile to, once the item, you can assume the King's Tear, has been retrieved, she is to return it to an address in Cormier.
Cormier, okay.
The interesting thing, you see, this letter is dated 11 days ago. And does not refer to Waterdeep.
Okay.
So it might not be this King's Tier, but a previous one they've already stolen.
I'm gonna. Does it have what
Interesting.
the address is?
It is a location in Cormier. It is...
Is that
That's
the
fine.
first
Yeah.
the first one we've had? Somebody walk in.
First interruption. Fortunately, it was muted
I
on
mean-
screen. Anyway.
I mean, we had. Anyway, King's Tier.
Yes. It is an address in Cormier. Let me give you
That's
said
near
address.
where Howell lives.
It is indeed.
In a sense of how Derbyshire is near Yorkshire, though. It's not like near.
Yeah. It's also
In the
now
same
committed
country.
to memory.
It's like, you know.
In like if Faerun is the size of like Europe, it would be like saying it's in Poland.
Nah, no, it's like the next sort of district over. But anyway, I don't see this. You see
Faerun's pretty big.
But you say district, but it's like a state as a district. Right? It still takes
It's
you
like-
a day or two to drive across it.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
like
yeah.
it's
like
in-
Washington to like New York or something. I don't know.
Hal lives in Virginia, and we've been given an address in West Virginia.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes, exactly.
not
Yeah.
too far away.
Sorry, yes, the interruption threw me. You are so it is an address in Suzale, which is the capital of Cormier on the northern shore of the Dragonmere Sea. You don't know anything about said address, given that you've not been to Suzale before, but you have that address.
Is it like house and name?
Yes.
All right.
Name of a
So
house
is it-
on a street in Suzale.
It's a specific address, not just meet me by the tree sort of thing.
Good thing Alec has a photographic memory. You know.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
As Alec is kind of doing that, can Howell sort of be now pacing a little bit, mulling over what Cecile has said? And I would like to ask Cecile, right, so let me just backtrack a little bit and clarify something here. So, you left the Zentarum because Al-Zalam asked you to kill innocents, right?
She says, yes, that's the long and short of it.
Okay.
He,
And... Go on.
she says,
Who were the innocents? Oh, you go. Don't worry.
she says, well, it was rather like this. There was a convoy travelling from Luskan to Neverwinter, and aboard the convoy was an individual that Al-Zalam wanted dead. Frightfully orthodox. Al-Zalam wants many people dead these days. And my instructions were to completely destroy the convoy. Now, one isn't necessarily opposed to complete and utter annihilation, but only when all parties concerned are guilty. Al-Zalam was very specific that only one individual aboard this convoy was a target. He wouldn't say who, but I wasn't willing to destroy an entire convoy of individuals, including, it has to be said, some frightfully important people, and bring an awful lot of scrutiny on the Zentarum.
Right, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm just having a little bit of a hard time getting my head around this. Okay, so you want us to help you disappear, and why shouldn't we just hand you into either one or the other? You know, the Zentarum or the Harpers.
Why do you need our help?
Well, you're very capable adventurers, it has to be said. I'm not one to dismiss talent when I see it. All of the things you've managed to do before, including, tracking down members of the Consensus and all of that frightfully important business with the Crisis, all of that, rather endearing. And she kind of smiles at you, Howell.
Howell grimaces back just like a...
and says, and frankly, and she turns to, she looks up at Oriana, still floating above the bed. One should never turn down the opportunity to work with another master thief.
I wasn't likely to turn this down. You do have some impressive talents that I wouldn't mind learning from.
I meant the other way around. I would quite like to work with you.
Howell squints at Cecile and then squints up to Oriana.
She says, I've also been observing your party for this group of heroes for a little while I've been in Waterdeep, and I've been asking around about you, and Al-Zalam does talk about you from time to time, and it seems Miss Aldriel, Miss Aldriel, isn't it? That you have a remarkable ability involving gems and souls and the releasing of the latter from the former.
That would be correct. They're more trinkets than gems, but I'll admit I have been intrigued by the King's Tears and their similarities to what I can do.
Well, indeed. So my offer to you is this. I give you information that may be useful to you, and about the King's Tears, and about my employer, in exchange for you not allowing me to be imprisoned by the Zentarim or put on trial by the Harpers. I think it's rather simple and straightforward.
Seems like a fair deal.
You can't really care enough about this Lord Ilvastarr to want to please him so at this point in time, nor, I think, do you care so much about your uncle to be completely opposed to displeasing him.
So, thus far, Howell had been very intentionally avoiding referring to Al-Zalam as, his uncle.
Yeah.
So Howell kind of does this kind of a kind of face at Cecile and goes, "Oh, right, okay, so you do know that, brilliant."
She told you last time that she knew that you were Al-Zalam's nephew, and that's why she wanted to find you specifically. For
okay,
help.
My mistake. In that case, then Howell thinks for a moment and says, "Right, well, look, given everything my uncle has done, it took me a while to get to trust him again. And I don't have, much family lying around, and, other than," and Hal kind of gestures to the other people in the room, and says, "It's not easy for me to swallow the information that my uncle, whom I'd chosen to believe was better than I'd originally thought, might be worse than that. I wanted to believe that he wasn't my father. Wasn't like him."
My dear boy, your uncle is the leader of the Black Network. One doesn't become the leader of an organization called the Black Network without some level of moral ambiguity.
Well,
just to confirm, the Black Network is the Zentarim, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Right,
I just thought there was another secret organization going on.
I could say the same about you.
Well, indeed. One must have a level of moral ambiguity to do what I do, but at least I'm not willing to murder innocent people.
Howell is going to struggle for a response for a moment and get sort of his tongue caught, look towards the ground and then look back up at Cecile and say, "I want to believe that my uncle would have a good reason for murdering innocent people or wanting to. I'm well aware that there are some people that need to die for the greater good."
She sips her tea and says, "Then that is your prerogative. The decision is yours to take. You have you have me cornered."
I'm not saying no because, frankly, you might be right. I think there's a good chance you might be right. I just need... Look, do you think it would be the most insane thing in the world if I were to, I don't know, ask Alec very nicely to send a sending spell and ask my uncle about this thing that happened? We don't have to tell him we're here, though I suspect he might already know, but I can't just tell him to go to the hells, as it were, without knowing, or at least trying. If he can't trust me, then I can't trust him. If he doesn't tell me the truth, then I'll side with you.
You do what you must.
This isn't just my decision. And Hal's kind of like going to gesture to, like, obviously, everyone else and say, look, what do you think we should do? I know that this is a really good opportunity for you, Oriana, and I frankly don't think Cecile... We've met bad people. Cecile does not seem like bad people. I don't know what to do.
I want to know why you are so eager to offer up your employer. We have not asked for your employer's information. We only came here to get you. Yet you seem so eager to give them up.
Because it is a bargaining chip, one might say. It's information that I have, and frankly, it's the only thing of value I think I can offer you. One should have all of one's cards on the table.
You could give us the King's Tier. That's pretty valuable.
Yes. I could, but I won't. If it's all the same to you, it's a level of insurance. It is to be delivered into the hands of my employer in a few days' time. It's already been passed off to a courier. That way, I still get paid if I do have to...
Sorry, what was your employer's name? How do you spell that name?
Right, very, very clever of you. Very clever of you. However, I shan't be giving you my employer's name until you promise me, if you promise me, I should say, that you won't hand me over to either the Zentarium or the Harpers.
We still have Rary's telepathic bond active, do we not? Since we had it when we came to the room.
You will, yeah.
Okay. Howell is going to say telepathically to the rest of the party in our not quite Discord call. Okay, look, what about a kind of counter agreement? What if we work with Cecile, we don't turn her into either the Zentarum or the Harpers, but what if we don't grant her freedom either? What if we take her, at least for now, and work with her, but we don't let her out of our sights until we know
As in a
more of the
Lyra
truth?
kind of situation. Or Lyra.
Well, I trust Lyra a lot more than I trust Cecile, but I can see this being a similar deal. Why don't we at least offer maybe to work with Cecile until we know the entire scenario, and then if we're happy with it still, then we can help her fake her death, and then we're done.
But we do not have a way to entrap her to prisoner or keep her here, such like. She is a master criminal. She can easily escape anything we can do, as far as I'm aware.
That's true, but
He says, thinking through
Faking her
his spells.
death could also be pretty easy,
Yeah, we
true.
just leave a pile of dust on the floor.
as long as one of us knows how to resurrect people.
I don't
I
think
think
that's what he had
no
in
one-
mind. When he
No
said,
one comes to
Oriana,
mind.
That's not faking a death. That's killing someone and bringing them back. That's slightly different.
Yeah, but if we try and fake someone's death, we're gonna need a pound of meat.
I have a logistical question.
Is
If
this
we
in the
faked her
bond or
death,
not? Okay.
this is a question to the DM. If we killed her, and I cast gentle repose, whatever it is, gentle
Gentle
repose. Does the soul still leak out?
Yes, you're only preserving the body such that you can offer the soul the opportunity to return.
Okay.
And I can catch the soul to make sure that she doesn't get caught by something else on the other side.
But
Are you suggesting...
the only way for you to release it is to destroy the soul for good.
That's true.
And then if they've been gentle reposed,
Yeah.
would
Revivify would
bring
not
back
work.
the life spell?
Revivify
not?
would not work because that requires you to have only been dead about a minute. Gentle repose essentially keeps you within a 10-day
10 minutes.
window. It means that a raised dead spell would work. You wouldn't need a resurrection spell. So a raised dead spell would work on a body that is under gentle repose, but revivify wouldn't.
My
Interesting.
inner Bruce lawyer is crying right now.
Tough.
You're killing me, Dad.
wonder if the fact that we just have the ability to give away her location at any time to either the Zentarum or the Harpers might be enough to convince her just to let us do a little bit more investigating with us, you know?
Do you mean because of the scrying, or?
Well, we could offer as part of our sort of counter-argument, if we had some of her hair, that would help us scry pretty well, right?
Yes, I
Piece
mean,
of paper. It's basically getting her number.
So, I mean, what we could do is say, okay, we'll work with you, as long as we are able to find out the truth in the process, and take some of her hair, and then if she decides to double cross us, then we give that hair to the Harpers and the Zentarum, and let them deal with it.
I imagine Howell is thinking this in the rarest telepathic bond.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
But those black eyes are boring into Cecile, who is like helping herself to a second cup of tea.
I imagine that Cecile is probably fully aware that we are probably talking in a telepathic bond. We've all just stopped talking for the past 5 minutes or so. I imagine Howell's eyes are glowing golden right now and just kind of like staring really intensely at whatever Cecile is doing.
We all still have the movements and physicality, body movement of a conversation, but it's completely silent in the room.
Can I have a cup of tea, Cecile?
Yes, please help yourself.
I'm gonna do that thing where you pour yourself a cup of tea and you put like 12 sugars in it to just unnerve people.
She says, "My, you are a rather sweet young man, aren't you?"
I'm like much older than you.
I don't doubt it. Is it true that you became a lich?
I can neither confirm nor deny these rumors.
In the telepathic bond, Hal's going to
his name. I'm gonna
good tea.
In the telepathic bond. I'm gonna say we could cast a spell on her, which is like the GS spell, the Gaius spell.
Yes.
Gaius.
I've always heard it pronounced Gaius, but
Gaius.
Then I'm a 12-year-old at heart.
Which, I cannot do it today, but tomorrow perhaps, and it might be a deterrent, but only if she allows it. I mean, she can always...
The only problem with Geese is it's a really powerful spell to my knowledge. I feel like it would hurt should it, be broken.
Oh, no, yeah. That is what makes it a deterrent.
That's
it does if you go against
the idea of the spell, actually.
There's generally the idea of a deterrent.
Okay, well, we have to do something. We're currently staring at her in complete silence as she makes tea, so what's the play here?
On the subject of faking her death, how exactly are we going to do that?
I can probably think of something, don't worry.
Does anyone have 35 litres of water, 20 kilograms of carbon, 4 litres of ammonia, an indeterminate amount of lime, 1.5 kilograms of lime,
that's the
800 grams of phosphorus.
Of body.
I can
it doesn't need to be alive, it just needs to be identifiable as human.
Is this equivalent exchange in action? Because this doesn't end well.
We're not transmuting a human, we're transmuting a dead body.
What is Cecile doing while we're having this conversation?
Just sitting there drinking tea, and she has picked up a book from the side of her bed and is kind of like flipping through its pages every so often.
She's
and
so
reading.
Cool.
Whilst she
Can I
how to fake your death?
If you would like to make, if any of you would like to make wisdom insight checks, you may.
I would love to.
I was gonna say I want to make.
Dan?
The book is a murder mystery.
Love it.
Dan, I rolled a nat 20. Tell me what she is thinking.
Okay, so wisdom insight from Génie.
I got a +2. Math is 9 + 2, 11.
11. Oriana.
Sorry.
I got a 19.
Alec.
17.
And Howell.
Natural 20.
For a total of
21.
21.
200.
Okay. Everyone except Génie will notice that she seems to be completely comfortable, so as to indicate that she feels completely in control right now. She is not worried in any way. She is still lay in bed, drinking tea, flipping through a book, not really paying you much attention as you have these internal conversations. She seems completely at ease with everything that's going on. Not a care in the world.
One of us should shout in our heads to see if she's listening to us.
The murder mystery she's reading, what's it about? Other than a murder.
Are you one to read murder mysteries?
I think Alec reads.
Is it the bedtime stories read Piddlewick?
Now, Alec is like the kind of person who knows all of the famous murder mysteries. He knows who did it, and he knows the piece of evidence that proves it, but he's never read one. He just reads the Wikipedia summary.
Watches true crime YouTube videos.
Yeah. This one is called Murder in the Dale Lands, and it is about an archaeological expedition in the Dale Lands, and one of the members of the archaeological expedition is found to be murdered, and it's a whole conspiracy about whether they are really whether the other members of the archaeological expedition are really who they say they are, or if some of them, may have a connected past that they've been lying about, and they call in a reasonably famous detective to help solve the murder.
Marvelous Blastwind. Do I know who did it?
Yes, you do. It was the husband, but the husband wasn't really the husband. The husband was in actuality
always the husband.
Was in actuality an ex-husband who the victim thought was dead.
I'll just I briefly think about spoil. Does she look like she's read it before?
You can't tell. If she seems to be every so often her eyebrows go up as though she's been surprised by it.
Good book there, Cecile.
But yes, it's one of a series of detective novels, and the difficulty with these sorts of novels is that you get to the end, and the detective calls them all into a room and begins to explain why he's called them all there. Then he sets out who did it, and that person proceeds to summarily leap out of a window, hit the pavement outside, and die. That's how all these books end. The only thrill in them really is discovering which of the poor souls is going to hit the pavement.
True. And some courts, they don't accept the evil voice as evidence.
No, they really don't. That's why I get away with everything, you see.
Okay, so
yeah,
we have a suggestion for you. Not a suggestion. What is the word? I do not know it in these languages. A proposition. Mercy, thank you. We, depending on your response to this, we have decided that we are not going to hand you over to the Zentime or the Arpers just yet, but take you under our wing, you may say. But as a way of securing you to us, so that you do not try to escape untoward, try to harm us or such like, we would like to put you under a spell. That would be as you say, anti-persuasion, or what is the opposite of dissuade, I think is the word.
You're talking about something
like to discourage you from betraying us.
Oh, is my word not enough?
I'm afraid in our line of work, the word of strangers is not always something that can be relied upon.
Howell just
we had the word of Manchun that he wouldn't try to kill us, but...
Well, I'm quite sure you would have had the word of one Manchun, not to try to kill you, but his clones were always very temperamental.
It's a whole mess.
She says, very well. You may place me under the auspices of whatever spell this is. I will live out the rest of my futile life at your cafe and, I don't know, give you the information if you can satisfy your own conditions, I suppose.
Out of character, we've kidnapped a new friend.
That's going to make it real awkward anytime Thomas Blackwood comes to visit.
Well, we do need someone to man the dinosaur stall.
The what?
Where we have the zoo.
No.
The dinosaur booth.
Yeah.
I mean, you do not have to be with us the rest of your life.
Well, unless you fake my death, my life won't be very long. The Zentarium you see are frightfully clever. They figure out everything.
I'm going to put a doubt on that one. Well, maybe the figuring out part, but they're frightfully clever. I don't think so.
So,
I mean, frankly... Sorry, go on.
You go.
I was going to say, I mean, frankly, I think there's a good chance that my uncle is probably trying to work out where we are, or maybe already has right now, so whatever we're going to do, we need to do it quickly.
Whatever you would like to do, I am at your disposal.
I do have one question for you. You mentioned earlier that you have lots of things. I believe the phrasing was lots of things left to steal. Have you considered doing other things with your life?
Well, there was a little while that I was interested in accountancy. And then I dabbled with law for a little while and decided that it was more fun to break it than it was to enforce it. But no.
There's so many loopholes.
Stealing things is what I'm good at. It's my God's-given talent is to temporarily retrieve things that are temporarily secure.
You don't have to stop doing that if we turn you into the Harpers. I'm sure that they would be willing to recruit someone of your particular talents.
I'm sure the Harpers would be, but I imagine that new and devilishly handsome Open Lord of Waterdeep would be quite more persuaded by the idea of putting me on some sort of public trial.
So you are way A grade. Not worth it. Don't do it.
Okay, look, this spell then, Génie. When can you cast it? Well, we need to know a little bit more about how this is going to work.
I need to wait at least a long rest worth of amount of time to prepare my spells.
So tomorrow.
Well, we can't really stay here, I don't think, at least overnight.
So it's like early... Is it like early morning now at this point anyway?
No,
spending the whole day in a stranger's hotel room? Mid-morning.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we went back to the cafe, then I feel like there's a big chance that my uncle may be watching it right now, expecting us to come back. Yeah, I don't think the thought wouldn't have crossed his mind that we might well betray him.
What? Are you saying this out loud? Or,
yes.
Right. She will say, well, why don't we use this as a way for me to demonstrate to you that I am worthy of trust? How about I come to your cafe first thing in the morning? In the meantime, I will remain here, and if you so wish, you may tell Al-Zlam, or indeed the Harpers, if I do not turn up tomorrow morning, that this is where I have been staying. They will likely be able to trace my whereabouts from this hotel room.
Okay, that works for me.
Is there anything you can give us as a deposit, you might say, that we can give back to you when you turn up tomorrow morning?
Collateral.
Collateral, a weapon, your passport, an ID card,
I'm still
a large sum of cash, a king's tier, perhaps.
She says, the king's tier is not in my possession. I've already said this. The gentleman there, and she gestures to Alex, says, seems to have pocketed a few of my papers.
I didn't pocket them, I just left them on the desk, but I can pocket them if you want me to.
Well, why don't you take some of my papers? It's proof that I committed the robbery, and indeed proof that I am employed by someone. Take them.
Does Cormier have an extradition treaty with Waterdeep?
Make a history check.
Oh,
All of us, or just
history.
Just Alec.
22.
So you know that historically, Cormier and Waterdeep have not gotten on that well. You know that the current Queen of Cormier is looking to kind of thaw relations with the Sword Coast, but beyond that, all you know is that they haven't got the best of agreements between them.
Okay. What's the current Queen of Cormier's name?
The current Queen of Cormier is called Raedra Obriskir.
Okay, so not TA.
No.
Is there a map? Not necessarily right here, right now, but is there a map we can see us being real life people, not characters in the game?
Yes, I'm sure one of you will be able to source that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a map of Cormier or a map of just where?
Faerun. I just want to gauge the distance of how far it is from here to Cormier.
Well, Cormier is the sort of, I guess, province right next to, if correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, the Dale lands where the Howell's family house is,
Yes.
and we can teleport to Howell's manor. So it's not that far for us realistically.
Yeah, I've sent a scaled map, like a link.
Yeah,
to
I've got
the,
it. Thanks.
To the Discord.
Yeah, so you would
So we're
if you wished to go there, you could travel to Howell's mansion, Howell's family mansion, and then travel to Cormier from there. It would be many days journey otherwise.
Yeah, so this is what I'm thinking. If she's got to be there in so many days, would they have the time to travel from now?
How do you mean?
As in, is she buying time so that she's got time to travel? If we, so in my head, she's saying, "I'll meet you tomorrow morning," but she already knows the address of where she wants to go that we don't know is on those papers. Is she going to jump ship, start traveling to Cormier tonight? Is the distance a reasonable amount of time to travel, or is there
No?
it takes 2 days and she's got 3 weeks to make that journey, sort of thing?
It would take, if I remember rightly, it would take over a month to walk on foot if she walked in a straight line.
I am dead serious. I think we should ask for some of her hair. I sincerely think that is a really good way of us keeping tabs on her. Because if we do, then we can scry on her basically pretty effectively whenever we want. And if she jumps ship, we can easily hand that off to anyone else who can scry. I genuinely am really leaning towards that idea now.
Yeah.
Alec pulls out his small knife.
She says, "And what is it that you intend to do with that?"
Can I borrow some of your hair?
You wanted to fake your death, no? Wanted to fake your death?
She will kind of pull her hair out of the band that it was in and just hold it out to you.
Just give it a quick tuck to make sure it deserves.
Barbershop Alec coming out.
This is how Alec
Give
cuts his
her a
own hair.
fade. Give her the freshest fade.
Just clump of hair.
Yep. Okay. You have some of Cecile Dubois' hair.
Free hair.
Eats it. Yum.
Okay. She
Best
says,
storage place.
She says, "So, do we have an agreement then? I will be at your cafe tomorrow morning. If in the eventuality that I do not appear, you may tell Al-Zalam, the Harpers, or whomever else you choose, where I have been staying. It's quite impossible for me to completely clean up after myself after only one night, so they would be more or less able to track me down from there, and I would end up forfeiting my life one way or the other."
Yes. Now, I imagine you as the kind of person who likes to wear disguises. If you'd like to come up with some over-the-top disguise to enter our cafe, it happens for a surprising amount, to be honest.
I am one of the most famous thieves because I have never been caught. Nobody knows what I look like. If you're worried about the Zentarim, they won't be able to recognise me. I will make sure I am disguised such as that. But I think rather over-the-top disguises are always a little bit uncouth, I suppose, a little bit too flamboyant.
Hal's going to shake his head and say, "We have a friend that would heavily, heavily disagree with you."
I'm sure. You seem like the sort of person who would have those sorts of friends.
What did you mean by that?
Insight check.
No, I'll refrain from the insight check. Hal's just going to be vaguely offended.
She says, well, if you don't mind, I need to head down to breakfast.
Oh, is it complimentary with the room?
It is. It's a very nice hotel.
Do we do
Did you pay for it?
breakfasts?
We're not a hotel.
Yeah, we're not an inn.
Oh, that's a good point.
And I do that for real life. I'm not doing it in a D&D game.
Do you have an agreement?
I think so.
We've got her hair, we've got some paper. We've got her word, apparently.
Is there anything on the papers that I didn't get with my quick search?
There is nothing else of a special interest, no.
Noted.
Just so you know, Dan, I hate moral dilemmas.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole scenario, I'm...
Oh, I love this. This is great. Okay, yeah, I think we're good with that. Now we need to decide how we evade answering any calls from anyone for the remainder of the day.
Yes, because you do know that Laurel and Cassius are waiting for you to get back.
Who
we
are
need
they?
to discuss what we are going to tell everyone.
It's fine, she wasn't there.
Gone fishing.
Or she escaped.
We did not catch her.
It was a trap.
We can't tell a lie, so we just don't quite tell the truth.
Why can't we tell a lie?
Because if they find out we're lying, then we've done something wrong. If we tell the truth but not quite the whole truth...
We've done a lot of things wrong in our lives, Genie.
Don't remind me.
Speak for yourselves. No, I can't even speak for myself.
The entire party looks at Oriana like...
You are a professional murderer, Oriana.
I don't believe that Oriana's ever murdered anyone.
That we know of.
I do to think.
I've watched Oriana murder people.
So,
Right.
Yeah, but you don't know our kill count.
are you heading back to your cafe? If so, how?
I think we need a slow walk back to discuss what our story is going to be.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like an hour walk, right?
Well, no, you're on the other side of the city, so you're looking at probably a 2.5 to 3 hour walk.
Let's stop for lunch on the way.
Yeah, let's stop for lunch somewhere.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, but you could. And then that way you could get back to your cafe kind of like mid-afternoon.
Let's do that.
Yeah. All right. Discuss what you would like to discuss.
Should we fake our own deaths?
And never come back.
Go start another cafe.
That's surprisingly easy for me to get away with.
Let's go start another cafe in Baldur's Gate with blackjack, and other things.
And the things you put on the end of fishing lines.
Yeah.
Bait.
Yeah. Okay, so sincerely, what are we going to tell Laurel and Cassius? Because Howell's not going to be too keen on the idea of lying to Cassius, but also he's already pissed him off this much. It's like it's not that much more damage, but...
Are they still going to be waiting there in like 2 hours?
Yeah,
Do they
don't
not
know.
have better shit to do?
I mean, a way of explaining why it's taken us so long to get back, we could easily just say the teleportation went wrong, because it's not technically a lie.
No.
And that we walked back because we didn't want to risk fucking it up again.
I mean, given that we know that Cassius did not sleep last night and it's still, well, it'll be early afternoon when we get there, I think there's a good chance Cassius will have gone to sleep anyway. That's what Howell told him to do. But obviously Laurel will probably be there. And
Given that she's recently unemployed and at the moment has nothing else to do.
She's sitting in our tavern.
She's
having
probably
a drink,
day drinking in that
smiling
tavern,
away.
yeah. She's probably got a picture.
Oh no, I knew we shouldn't have put those cocktails on offer.
Okay, so I have a suggestion. If they are there when we get back to the tavern, we say something along the lines of, "We got there, we surprised her, but she slipped away. But we do have this evidence that we found and present the papers. I mean, she is a master thief, but we interrupted her while she was packing up. She did not get everything. It is not that far from the truth."
I mean, I quite like the idea of we technically don't lie to them. We say the teleportation went wrong. We didn't get her, but we did get papers.
Yeah. Howell's not
Only
going to like
catchback
misleading
that.
Cassius, though.
The catchback is if we say that we didn't get it, but we did manage to find this, they may send people to go look.
If we give a location, they'll probably check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Do we look at the papers that don't? Do we give the papers that don't have the location? Just give them some of the papers that we have.
But us getting the papers implies that we found what room she was in, and therefore we could tell them what room she was in.
Yeah. Okay, what if we tell Cassius and Laurel the truth, but ask them very nicely to keep it to themselves for now?
I'm okay with that.
I feel as if, at least, I mean, this is me speaking in character now, I feel as if they might well understand, given the new information we found. However, obviously, with both Laurel and Cassius, some of their dignity and, I guess, honour is on the line because of what finding Cecile would mean for the Harpers and for Laurel. It would be putting a lot of faith in them.
What if we first suggested to Laurel before we suggest, as she is not in office anymore? I assume she has no role in the Harpers. We suggested to Laurel.
Right.
She might be able to suggest how she thinks Cassius might respond, and we go from there.
There's got to be a way we can play this to make Ranulf look incompetent as well.
And I'm sure Laurel will gladly help with that.
Well, I'd like to think that Cassius would be willing to trust me, at least for at least a few days. And I think, as dignified and as reasonable as Laurel is, I also think Laurel probably wouldn't be opposed to exposing Lord Ilvastarr for the, or whatever it is he is.
Wanker and fraud.
Wanker and fraud. Sorry, Dan, that should be Lord Ilvastar's new subtitle on the webpage. Lord Ilvastarr, Open Lord of Waterdeep, Wanker and Fraud.
You can have that one in quotation marks. That's Alec's LinkedIn review of him.
I think it's a risk. I mean, the worst thing they could do is, let's say that Cassius and Laurel turn around and tell us, no, we need to go and capture her right now, then we go ahead of them, or try to, and we, warn Cecile. The other thing is, I do believe that having Cecile's hair, and having had Cecile agree to being put under a geese spell, well...
Sorry, I just had the mental image of the spell.
goose spell.
You ever betray it, you get attacked by a goose.
Wherever you go, it will be there.
It's always watching you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel we have good leverage, so...
What's that fear where it's like the fear that somewhere a duck is watching you?
I used to know what that was. I love that fear.
Regardless of that, what are you going to tell Cassius and Laurel when you get back to the tavern, or whomever is there?
My vote is the truth, and if they don't like it, then we show them the leverage we have over Cecile, and if they don't like that, we skedaddle. We run for it and get ahead of them.
So you say skedaddle, which is run away, and then you say get ahead of them.
As in, to go to Cecile. If they go to capture Cecile, we go faster than they do. Hopefully.
Do the Dale lands have an extradition treaty with the Sword Coast?
You can make
that's where we.
You can make a history check.
30.
Wow.
The Dalelands also not the best relationship with Waterdeep. However, they would be less likely to than Cormac, because the Dalelands are less a unified nation and more a collection of smaller locations. So,
if this does go wrong, we flee to the Dalelands and live the rest of our lives there.
Are you inviting yourself to live in my house?
No, I know a little village we can go to.
I can go to your house at any time.
I don't like that.
Whenever I want. Where do you think I hide my dead body? I mean, what?
You hiding dead bodies in my mother's home?
No.
You wouldn't be the only strange thing that's hidden there, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyway, we're off topic.
It's in the creepy ritual chamber that your mother doesn't want to go in anyway.
Don't talk about the ritual chamber. Shh.
What's Oriana
thinking? It's not a sex thing.
What's Oriana thinking while these two are having this conversation on the way home?
How the fuck are we gonna fake a death? Because obviously Oriana's got experience with death. What would be the most convincing way?
Experience with death.
Yeah,
It's a very good, very professional way of saying, I kill people.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking so far?
I want to help Cecile. Because I want to get my hands on a fucking King's Tear. Whether I smash it or not is the question.
King's Tear, smash or pass?
You're bad. You're bad.
Yes.
Hang on, we're Martin, we can do this.
Okay, Dan. If we ever have an episode where you think we're going to break the King's Tier, you have to call the episode "Smash or Pass." Please, I'm begging you.
Sure.
Great.
Nice.
Right.
And also the question of whether Oriana could create a King's Tear.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Can she cry?
I mean, she'd need someone to die to be able to try. But that'll
happen eventually. It'll come up.
People keep dying around us for some reason.
It's almost as if we're dangerous individuals.
You arrive.
Casually pick up her old job. It's fine.
You arrive back at your cafe. The afternoon crowd is just finishing up its lunch, and people are beginning to kind of come in for early afternoon drinks. Those who aren't working elsewhere. You find neither Cassius nor Laurel in the tavern proper. Silshard is there, however, sweeping the floor.
Oh, thank the gods.
Has it been a good day's taking so far? I mean, hello, Silshard. How are you? Has today been well for you?
He says, "Yeah, today's all right so far. Yeah, we've not done too bad. We've had a couple of large groups for 11s. They paid quite well.
Perfect. Was there many for second breakfast?
A few.
Good. Any issues we should know about? Any repairs they need making?
We're out of brie.
Free.
Howell has a moment of holding back like a grin at the sight of his kind of still patron, kind of demonic patron, explaining that we're out of brie.
Hang on, I just got to make a note of this. Out of brie.
Howell does grin and says to Silshard, "Well, I'm glad you're taking to the cafe life well. You've come quite far."
Thank you. Yeah, it's I'm really glad to be able to do something to help. As Génie was saying to me that sweeping the floors of the cafe, it's like the most important job there is here, and that I should be very grateful to be able to do it.
Howell's gonna turn to Génie, kind of like, "Hey, are you? Please don't oversell the importance of cleaning the floors to Silshard. They're still working some stuff out."
Is if you run a business, everybody is like a cog in the machine. You take out the smallest cog and everything falls apart.
Stop
Sweeping the
turning my
floors
patrons
is
into
like
capitalists.
I
Anyway.
mean, if you go into a restaurant and the floors are covered in dirt, that's a bad restaurant.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
Silshard
yeah.
is nodding and pointing at Alec and nodding quite vigorously.
Look, whatever,
Anyway,
whatever keeps
I've
you
got to
happy,
go
buddy.
talk business with my simulacrum, so...
Is that a
I'm-
euphemism?
No, I actually need to talk to him about something.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Alec goes off to talk to his simulacrum. Piddlewick is still at school
Nice.
at this point. It's still during the school day.
I'm gonna act casual, pick up a crate of some a basket you might take foraging, and go out and buy some brie.
Okay.
Because apparently the cheese salesman that visited the other day had no brie.
Embarrassing.
Well, no, he had brie. You've just been selling a lot of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are we selling so much of that's got so much brie in it?
People keep seeing an old cheesemaker come in, so they assume we get artisan brie.
We're quickly
I'm gonna go
becoming a
find
cheese place.
I
Yeah.
have no complaints.
What are Howell and Oriana doing?
I would like to ask Silshard if they have seen where Cassius and Laurel went.
Silshard says, well, Cassius is upstairs asleep. I put him in your bed. I hope you don't mind.
Howell just freezes on the spot, kind of looks around, puts an arm around Silshard and takes them off to the side of the bar or whatever.
Yep.
And in a huddle motion is like, you what?
Silshard says, no, it's that you were telling me the other day about sarcasm.
Are you screwing with me right now?
Yeah, he went home.
Howell's gonna look around in sheer horror and then go, oh,
Why?
why
What would be
Why
so
the hells
bad?
you've learnt sarcasm? This would be really good if you weren't such a bastard about it. Wow, okay. Howell kind of has a moment. He goes, no, that was funny. I'll give you credit.
Good.
Okay.
Laurel went to run a few errands. She said she had a few suspicions that she wanted to act on, and a few old contacts that she wanted to go and speak to. Said she'd call by tomorrow.
Okay, that's good. That works. I'll update you later about what's going on. And thank you for keeping things running. I hope you don't feel underutilized.
Not in the slightest. I'm really enjoying being alive.
Well, I hope it stays that way because I've had my doubts. That's in bad taste. Anyway, keep it. I need to go.
I've had
work
my
some-
doubts.
About being alive. Things have been. Don't read into it. Hal's gonna sort of give Silshard a understanding look and then go off to his room.
Okay, what's Oriana doing?
Rihanna will work the front for a little bit. Just help serve people, serve drinks, that kind of thing.
Okay, you do so.
Get bogged down with some mundane shit.
Alec, you go to talk to your simulacrum.
Yes, I do. So, after we got back from the party, I asked him to do some reading on the King's Tears. Did he find anything?
He did.
All right, lay it on me. What did you find out?
Okay.
Do I have to roleplay both parts?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
You would have had to had I sent you information about King's Tears in advance. However, having not done so, I will pretend to be you. He will tell your simulacrum will tell you that everything. Actually, what you could do for me is make an intelligence arcana and an intelligence history check to see how much was learned.
Arcana is 32.
Mm-hmm.
The history is soft 20.
Okay. Your simulacrum has not learnt much more by way of the history of the gems, insofar as they were created, it's believed, by elves many years ago, that they contain the souls or memory imprints of the individuals who crafted them or who used them and wished to impart information into them. They don't necessarily have to contain souls. They can just contain like a projection of memory, such that, say, someone's life story, they could capture in one of these gems. Hidden information that they wanted to have removed from their mind but didn't want to lose. So, if someone who was during the days of Faerun's history, when factions were at war with other factions, if there was information that one person had that knew that the other side shouldn't have and shouldn't be found, but that their side did, they could hide it in one of these gems, and these gems are one-time use. In order to retrieve whatever is in there, it has to be broken, and there is no way to get it back. One-time use only. You're not there, but hold on. Magically speaking, there can be ways you discover of previewing what information is in one before you break it. It is essentially a very powerful version of the legend lore spell that lets you kind of glimpse into it before sort of being able to, before having to smash it, so that you can see what's contained inside. But in order to retrieve the information, you have to break it. There are, as you already know, only 6 left in the world. Many of them have disappeared. It's entirely possible that there are more, and it's entirely possible that there are more on different worlds, but there are only 6 known. You know that Cecile has now stolen 3 of them, that one is in the hands of a private collector, was purchased recently, and one of them is in Neverwinter, and the other one was recently sold. One was recently sold, one is in Neverwinter, and one has been in the hands of a private collector for quite some time. That is pretty much everything your simulacrum is able to learn. It would very much depend when the tier had the information implanted into it as to what it may contain. What your simulacrum has been able to learn about the timing of these king's tiers is that tracing them back, like, through purchase records sort of thing, would be possible, because things this valuable, there are always records of their sale, and that would give you a clearer indication as to what might be contained in them. If you can trace them back to when they first kind of went on the market, you can see kind of what area of the world they were in, at what time, what might have been going on elsewhere in the world. But that would take a little bit of prodding and poking around, and probably some asking around in order to get that information. Alistair?
Just going back to when you said you could hide information in them. In that process, is the information being put in forgotten by the person doing it? So they could remember it and put the information in. They could forget it and put the information in.
Yeah.
And would they have to die as part of that process, or I'm assuming not if they can choose to remember it?
No, not necessarily. But that information is then one release and gone. The idea is that if an individual was about to be captured with this information in their mind, not being able to resist mind reading abilities, they could get rid of this information in such a way that it is not lost, but no longer puts them at risk.
Yeah.
It's like a memory stick, basically.
Yeah. That either contains your soul, an imprint of your memory, or certain pieces of information that you wished to retain for posterity. That latter option, kind of like hiding information that you then don't intend to forget, or not kind of putting the entirety of your soul into it, was more rare, because these things being one-time use was so valuable, your simulacrum learns, that it's unlikely that they would have been used except in the most extraordinary of circumstances, or to contain the most important pieces of information.
You know that meme where someone finds a scroll of truth and it's like
Yes.
some really crappy piece of... That's what I'm picturing is going to be inside these King's Tears.
Yeah.
It's like the true friendship is the ones you make along the way, or something like that.
The information that should never have been the thing that should never have been forgotten is like some random historical person's birthday.
Buy milk, eggs,
Brie.
buy brie.
I'm gonna ask my simulacrum to see about chasing down the information or like the records of the 6 King's Tears that exist.
Yep.
Trying to track down when they were created.
You can send your simulacrum off to do that. Do you give your simulacrum instructions as to when to return to you?
Just come back after you find each one. Come back here. If I'm not here, write me a note.
Okay.
What if they don't find the one? Do they not come back?
Well, after you find one, or you hit a dead end in your research, I write a list.
Conditions.
Yeah.
If this or that.
My
If
simulacrum's
this
not
or
like
that.
a robot. He is just me. I can
Yes.
he understands my thought process.
Yes, but so do I. And if Alec is given the
there's a
instruction, go and research this, Alec is likely to do it until Alec has found the information.
Yeah.
If the information is not there, he's never coming back.
That's true, actually. That's exactly what Alec would do. Alec, what happened to your simulacrum? I sent him off to buy some brie, actually.
He's in a library somewhere.
If it takes... What would be like a reasonable amount of time to give him to research each one?
So, I mean, mechanically speaking, research usually takes a work week.
Okay.
Like, the research downtime, which is what you would probably need for this, is 1 work week. So 8 days.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that for researching all of them or researching each of them?
For researching each of them.
Okay. If it takes more than a week for you to find anything, I don't know. So yeah, for this week, researched the one that was. I don't know which one's more important to research. I don't know.
Roll a d6.
Let's get, I'm going to say this week research the one that was in the Waterdeep Gallery. If you don't find anything, move on to the next one. Next, research the one in Neverwinter. Then research the other one that we know where it is in the Private Collector, and then then research the one that was recently sold. And if you don't find anything on those, research the ones that were stolen by Cecile first.
Your simulacrum goes off to do that.
See you in 6 weeks, buddy.
Your room feels oddly empty.
Oh, now I just have to talk to myself.
Oh, that's sad.
Like a crazy person.
Piddlewick's around.
He's at school.
He's at school.
Oh my
Also,
god,
he's
Alex
a
experiencing
Emptiness syndrome.
loneliness. Oh my god.
Alec goes downstairs.
Insight check. Is it loneliness?
I'm gonna start. No, I want to see if there's. Would I know if it's possible to find records of like caravans that have entered the city?
Oh,
Like merchant caravans.
yeah, you would. So the town guards, the city watch, do keep records of people coming in and out of the city.
Do you know what I should have asked? The names of any one of the people who are on that thing that Cecile was tasked to find.
Well, that was travelling from Luskan to Neverwinter, so it's unlikely that anyone in Waterdeep would have that information.
Right. Could go on a fun little side adventure. The Alex solo
Splitting
mission
up
to
the
Neverwinter.
party.
Oh god, what does Alec do with his time now? He doesn't have a simulacrum to talk to.
Well, I mean, I did have a small question which may affect what I do, what Hal does in the next few hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for certain spells that require material components, even though I have like technically an arcane focus,
Yeah.
do I need the material components if they have a gold value?
Yes.
Right.
If it has a gold value, or if it says which the spell consumes.
I could do with shopping, just for one thing.
Okay.
For no real reason.
What would you like to go and buy?
A ruby worth 600 gold pieces that may or may not have human blood inside of it. I can supply the human blood.
How? Okay. First of all, why? Second of all, well, actually, to be fair, no, I don't need to know why. I affirm all player choices.
This is the thing that Hal would not tell the party, that he's going to go and buy a ruby with human blood in it.
It is
He's going to go buy a blood ruby.
Okay.
That's the very much a thing that I just would like to have. For
You
reasons.
definitely can go and get a ruby.
Yep.
Whether you would be able to buy a ruby with human blood in it, Howell is unsure, but you do know people you could go and ask.
Look, it says
knows
ruby
the
vial,
CD.
so like it can be a vial of
Just made out of ruby.
Made out of ruby.
Okay.
It's like a material.
Make for me, please, make an investigation check. See what you find.
I'm just going to.
What are you trying to cast?
Don't worry about it, Alistair. It's fine.
I'm worrying. I'm worrying.
So curious now.
20 total.
20 total. Yes, you are able to find a vial made out of ruby. It will cost you 800 gold pieces.
I'm going to buy that.
Okay.
This will come in handy later.
Look at this party with 800 gold pieces just to throw away on a piece of ruby.
I'm very wealthy, Dan.
Yeah, he is.
For now.
For now, God.
Wait till,
Right, well,
wait till the cafe is taxed quarterly.
That was the only other thing
It's
that Hal.
personal money. It's not
I don't know
business money.
I don't know if Alec wants to tag along on the shopping trip. Just if Alec had other things that he needed to do, but
Well, you see Alec come downstairs and walk out of the front door, and then a few moments later, you see Alec come downstairs.
And walk out the front door.
Alec. The only spell scroll Alec has, he can't actually copy into his spellbook. I'm gonna... No. See, a part of me wants to, for the purposes of, if we need to identify her to the Harper, draw a picture of Cecile. But that feels awfully creepy.
it's fan art.
It's not fan art, it's perfectly lifelike, which is somehow creepier. What does Alec do with his spare time?
Make spells.
Consume book.
Génie gets back from buying emergency brie. Alec could assist unloading that.
Sure. Alec will be uncharacteristically helpful in the unloading of brie.
This is mighty kind of you. Thank you. I mean, there is only the one bag worth. I could not find more, but thank you.
You just need me to put it on the top shelf, don't you?
That is true. Otherwise, I will eat it all myself.
Judy just sat looking up at the shelf eating brie.
I guess I'll lift it up, put it on the top shelf.
Oh, I thought you meant to lift Genie,
At this point, you
I don't
recall
know.
I pull out a baguette, put some brie on it, and just
you recall the instance where Génie had gone out to buy brie and then got accidentally locked in the pantry that one time, and in order to survive, ate the brie, thinking he was never going to be able to, he wasn't going to get out alive. He was only in there for an hour, but in that time he'd consumed all of the brie.
It's like a machine.
We go through brie at 100 gold of brie a day.
Okay, so
don't say that. Daniel will adjust the party funds.
So
we sell 500 gold of brie a day.
Once you're all back in the tavern, is there anything you wish to do this afternoon, or shall we time skip to the start of the next day?
Should probably tell the others about the information I learned from the papers.
You can explain all that.
Over dinner, in the back room, we'll sit down and have a nice meal.
Take a block of brie each.
I've prepared a lovely meal of warmed baguette and brie after Sylvester helped me get it down from the top shelf.
So, I found out what was on Cecile's papers. It was from someone by the initials TA. Does anyone know anyone with those initials?
It's not, but this reminds me. Before we speak to Laurel tomorrow, or whenever we speak to her, isn't her name written on the paper?
Oh yeah. Also, this paper says Laurel Silverhand ? Under owners of the King's Tears. I don't know why that word was.
We should keep that in mind before we speak to Laurel and show her the evidence we found with her name on it.
Yeah, I did say I wanted to speak to her about. Anyway, this TA was asking Cecile to bring the King's Tears to this address in Cormier.
Can we do a check to see if we know the name?
Well, so now that you are back at your office with directories and maps and things, you can consult to see if you can find the address listed anywhere.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah. Montage time.
Book reading montage.
So make an intelligence investigation check if you are looking for this particular piece of information amongst your records.
27.
Okay.
6.
21. Oh.
You ready for this?
Yep.
Never unheard of number when you're rolling dice. A 0.
Okay, so Génie is slightly too far gone with the brie eating to be any use to you.
I'm sat with a big book, but not reading it. I'm just eating brie behind it.
Howell and Alec, you managed to come across pieces of information that you are able to put together, which is that this address is the postal address of the Royal Palace in Suzale.
Wait, hang on a minute. So
we've got the palace, the Queen of Cormier's PO box.
Essentially.
This address, what was the context of it again? It was this is like where Cecile was going to go to meet, like, right?
To send the King's Tears.
And I assume this sort of fantasy PO box is exactly the sort of place you would go to send something in the post.
It's not a PO box; it's the postal address. So if you needed to, if you walked into Suzale, you would see the castle. But if you were sending a message from elsewhere, this is where you would need to send it.
Okay, so does that imply then? Do we think that whoever Cecile was going to hand this off to might be somewhat related to the royalty of Suzale?
You also you would know that like with Waterdeep, the palace itself would play host to all sorts of courtiers and members of the aristocracy and judiciary and so on. It would be a workplace as well as the residence of the Queen of Cormier.
Still, when compared to the entirety of Cormier, that does narrow it down somewhat.
It does, yes. You know that Cecile was intending to, had been instructed to send the King's Tears to the Royal Palace in Cormier.
Okay.
And now we just need a list of staff of everyone who works in the works and lives in the Royal Palace in Cormier.
Might be hard from Waterdeep to do that.
You would hazard a guess in the thousands.
It might be a title.
We can...
The Adventurer of the Palace, perhaps?
I was going to say we could look down the list and see how many of them begin with or have names TA.
That'd be a good start.
That's if they're not using an alien to do this, because it would be highly risky to steal something so high value from an area that you're trying to befriend.
The Queen is trying to befriend. There might be people in Cormyr who are opposed to the idea.
I think, frankly, we could, if we're working with Cecile, we could just ask Cecile, a little more, right? Once we help her, that would probably lead us there. If Cecile's supposedly going there anyway.
Speaking of places that we're going to have a break. We're going to go to a break for a little while. We are going to take about a 10-minute break, so we'll be back just after 25 to, so at about 37 minutes we should hopefully be back. Let's have 10 minutes. Thank you so much for being with us so far. We'll see you all shortly. And we're back. All right. So during the break,
are we?
Yes, we are. We had a quick discussion about things that need to happen, and two things are going to go on during this long rest. So first of all, Oriana.
I would like to commune with my past lives to see
Ooh.
if I can glean anything from their wisdom.
So how does communing with your past lives work?
It's essentially just any time during a long rest. It's normally to swap a proficiency in any skill of my choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially just like, hey, how do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, cool, here's how you do it. Proficiency.
It's that one scene in Avatar.
Yeah, it's essentially
Kill the Fire Lord.
Avatar Kyoshi, how do I spare this man's life? No.
With a gun.
No, this isn't how the game is played.
But yeah, it's basically like
Okay.
communing with previous avatars.
Let's see. You are an Eladrin.
Yes.
Make an intelligence history check with advantage.
16.
Okay, now roll a d100.
$92.
Oh, okay. And you're asking specifically about King's Tears? Was it?
I
Or,
couldn't hear you for a second, man.
what is it that you're asking about particularly?
How are the King's Tears made, I guess? Because that's the thing that's most pressing on Oriana's mind at the moment, because she wants to try it.
Okay. From your past lives, you know that the King's Tears are specific gems that were mined from a mine that is now not on the prime material plane, but is being used by the elves to house things and people that they would very much like not to get back to the material plane. It's a place called Star Mine.
Gotcha. Stop. Good.
The star.
So that's what you learn.
Interesting.
Right, and Howell.
So, having gone to his room after doing some slightly macabre shopping,
Mm-hmm.
Howell is going to fill in Silshard first and foremost on everything, and then retire to his room and sit on his bed, and kind of like lay on one side, looking out from his bed out towards the window, and using the little watch things that Alec crafted scientifically and magically. Howell's going to use his meditation app that he's been using lately. Having been struggling recently with thoughts of the previous unspeakable horrors that the party has been encountering and all the things that they've done.
Yeah. Okay, so
start doing that.
You use the app, and then you kind of drift off into a bit of sleep. And when you open your eyes again next, it's dark out. But you are again awake, so you look at the app and switch the app on again. And you are greeted by the usual warm, soothing voice that Alec has essentially programmed into it, which is just Alec's voice, but in different accents, as he's like narrated like the contents of it. So you are greeted with, "Hello, welcome to your meditation."
Without fail, every time Howell uses this app, he almost laughs a little at the fact that he knows that it's Alec's voice doing different voices, but that does give him a degree of comfort. You know, given that one of the things that Howell is still kind of working through is the time, the time, for example, he saw Alec be horribly murdered.
Yes. The app continues. The app continues and says to you, if you're feeling stressed, give that stress a score on a scale of 1 to 10. Whisper that number to yourself now.
Howell thinks and this thinks about the mentions of Amalia Castellanter in the last few days of adventuring, and thinks 8.
Now imagine that number and place it on a lily pad and watch it float out to sea to be devoured by sharks.
Howell breathes deeply, and then his brow furrows more as that kind of image is not entirely comforting, but he sees the reasoning behind it.
The app kind of plays a little bit of music for you, and then the Jaws theme. The app plays a little bit of music for you, then says, inhale through the nose, focusing on the cooling sensation in your nostrils. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Whenever you feel tension, just think on the words of Alec Victus. Don't exhale. When you're going
Howell obviously says
the app says to you, when you're going through Barovia, keep going. Inhale, exhale.
Howell, his breath catches, and he has a moment where he grips more onto the bedsheet on his one side, and for a moment he stares out the window. I'm imagining it is raining on this evening in Waterdeep, just for pathetic fallacy.
Yes.
Howell looks out the window for a moment as maybe there's a cloud in the distance. Howell sees the outside of the window almost in that same grey scale of Barovia, and then it's gone,
Alec's voice through the app says, you'll notice your thoughts might begin to drift away, and that's fine. Just remember, the killer is at the door.
Howell's eyes go wide and they start glowing that kind of horrific golden colour they do in the dark, and his eyes look towards the door.
Under your breath, count 1, 2, and release.
Howell counts the 1, 2, and all the time his gaze is narrowing and is fixed at the door as if expecting something to come through.
The app starts musically singing, what would you do if I sang out of tune? There's 2 in the backyard now.
Howell kind of again looks towards the window, looking downwards now towards whatever Howell could see in that direction, as if again paranoid of seeing something else outside again.
One has a crossbow, the other has a greatsword. Imagine that greatsword is made out of fluffy marshmallows. Weightless, lethal marshmallows, right outside. Inhale through your nose, never ever through your mouth. Your life is in danger, exhale through your mouth.
Hal almost begins to hyperventilate.
They have a significant head start now.
Hal kind of sits up in his bed, and instinctively one of his hands almost reaches towards where the wound in his chest used to be. Obviously, his body now healed; it's no longer there, but he instinctively goes to touch it.
The app says, "Don't."
Howell freezes.
Says, now,
What is going on?
mindfully turn your attention to Ben. Relaxed and lifeless, hog-tied in the back of a cart.
Howell, again, he's no longer sure what's happening, whether this is real or he knows that he's struggling. This might be some kind of hallucination, or maybe he's still dreaming. And Howell looks out the window.
Okay, outside the window, there is a cart and two people bundling something into it.
How do Howell's windows open?
Up.
Howell kind of like grimaces and winces against the force of his own paranoia and thinks to himself as if to say, am I really going to do this? And Howell opens the window upwards,
Yep.
Pushing his curtains to the side and, goes as if to climb out the window. Are those people still there? Is that cart still there?
Yep.
Howell climbs onto the edge of his, window sill and mutters to himself out loud, I must be losing it. And Howell's going to jump out of his window to the yard below.
Okay.
Imagine if it is raining, it's very muddy now.
Yes, and given that you are on the second floor, you will take 2d6 points of fall damage from this.
Cool.
It's at this moment, so you take 3 points of fall damage. I should credit, by the way, some of the text of that meditation app came from a YouTube video that I quite liked, that was done by Daniel Thrasher. It's at that moment, Alec, that running through your mind is you wonder how the home security update to the watches has been deployed and whether or not you might need to ask your simulacrum to investigate for any bugs. You didn't really finish beta testing it before you pushed it to launch.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have a lot of time, and it's quite difficult to. You can't get people back into re-record dialogue when you're doing all the dialogue and the coding yourself.
Yeah.
If you've missed something, you've missed it.
If this is a bug, like I swear to God,
Alec,
or is it a feature?
Not Alec. Howell, make a dexterity acrobatics check to see whether you land upright in the mud.
11.
With an 11, you land. You initially land on your feet and then kind of skid to the ground. It won't cost you any movement to get up, but you don't necessarily think your landing was quiet. You kind of let out a bit of a whimper when you kind of like went down on your ankle.
Howell is going to wince and pull Gleipnir, his scythe, out of it, where it comes out of his chest.
Yep.
Almost imagining the pain that used to be there, and Howell's going to stick it into the mud in front of him and grimly pull himself up to face where he thinks this cart is.
Okay, the cart is there, indeed. It is not a figment of your imagination. The two individuals who were bundling something into the back of it turn round. One of them has a greatsword, the other one has a crossbow. And that crossbow is levelled at you, and it shoots you. Well, it attempts to shoot you. It will miss. Startled by your appearance, whomever has this greatsword kind of shoots very wide, and this crossbow kind of arcs off and hits the side of the building. Roll initiative.
Okay. $11.
11, okay. This is the first combat of the live streamed. Oh no, it's not, because we did combat the first week. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we murdered those.
And we annihilated 6 people.
Okay, you act first. So
Standing
you are.
up.
Sorry, just to describe, you are in the backyard of your of the tavern. It is a 40-foot square space bordered on 3 sides. On 2 sides by the tavern, because it's at the back of the L shape. On one side is a solid wall, and on the 4th side is a solid wall that has an archway in it, which is how your deliveries come in and out. There, ordinarily, it's also where your customers kind of park their horses. So there are some troughs and some posts to which horses usually get tied. There is a well in the middle of this space as well. The cart is a 10-foot by 15-foot cart. that is positioned near the access way. Now that you are down here, you notice that the back door to the tavern is open, and these two individuals are stood between you and the cart.
Okay. That bundle they had, how is that looking right now?
That is in the back of the cart, and you can see that it is moving.
Is it making any noise?
It's like muffled, kind of like noises.
First thing Howell's going to do is he's going to mentally try and commune with Silshard.
Okay.
And speaking in Abyssal, in his head, Howell is going to say, Silshard, if you're awake, I think you might need to wake the others. I think I don't know if I'm losing it, or I think if something's happening to Ben, someone's in the back garden. I'm there. Bring people.
Okay. You get snoring.
Coherent language.
Howell's going to almost stamp into the mud, wearing his pajamas, by the way.
Yeah.
And will say, "Oh, of course he needs to sleep now." Shit. Okay. Howell points towards these two people and says, "I don't know who you are or what you're doing, but who is in that? What is that?" And points with Gleipnir towards the bundle.
Okay. There is no response, aside from the one with the crossbow takes another shot at you.
Okay.
Does a 12 hit you?
No.
Okay, that crossbow bolt goes wide. The other one with the greatsword, will walk up to you very menacingly with the greatsword and says to you, "Kid, stay away," and will point the greatsword at you.
Is that my turn?
So it is now your turn, yes.
Howell is going to almost pleadingly look towards this person who Howell is not sure if is real or not, and say, "I can't do that." And Howell is going to cast Shadow of Moil.
Okay, what does that do?
So flame-like shadows are going to wreathe Howell's body until the end of the spell. It lasts for a minute and it is concentration, causing Howell to become heavily obscured to others. It turns any dim light within 10 feet of Howell into total darkness, and any bright light in the same area into dim light.
Yep.
I have resistance to radiant damage, and in addition, whenever a creature within 10 feet of me hits me with an attack, the shadows lash out at that creature and deal it 2d8 necrotic damage.
Okay, you do so. So this area now is completely dark.
Yeah. Howell is then, for a bonus action, going to point at the person with the greatsword and declare them the target of his Hexblade's curse.
All right.
Howell is then going to step 1 foot diagonally, sort of sidestepping this person, keeping... Oh, maybe it's not 1 foot. Howell wants to be 11 feet away from this person, but moving around them towards the cart rather than backwards.
Okay. Yep, you can do that. All right. That was your turn. It's now the one with the crossbow, and that one kind of getting a tad distressed by the sudden imposition of darkness, moves back towards the cart and the horse that is attached to it, and looks like he's trying to find a way. This figure looks like it's trying to find a way to mount the horse in order to start riding it. Fails to do so in the dark and is just kind of like grappling around in the dark, evidently can't see. The one with the greatsword will take a wild swing at you, so we'll do this with disadvantage because it's complete darkness.
Also, if they, with the greatsword, I was 11 feet away from them.
They move towards you. Yeah.
So Howell's going to swing at them first with an opportunity attack, and opportunity, if that's all right.
Yep.
So because Howell is heavily obscured, this is going to be done with advantage, I believe.
Yes. It would be fine anyway because they can't see you, so you would have advantage.
Yeah, so that's going to be... Oh, if these turn out to be innocent people, this is not going to be good. No, God. That's 27 to hit.
That will hit.
Okay, that's going to deal...
Way too late to worry about that now.
Yeah. That's going to deal 11 plus 10, that's 21 damage.
Okay. The scythe... is it halberd or a scythe?
It's... For technical purposes, it is a halberd, but it's shaped like a scythe because I love Polearm Master.
All right. The scythe cleaves into this individual, and you catch them, and you deal quite a lot of damage, such that they kind of like pull back almost and fall to the ground. They're not dead, but they are very, very injured.
Oh, that's too much damage for an actual bad guy. Oh no. Okay.
Are we the bad guys?
So that was his turn, so it's now your turn.
This person's on the floor, right?
Yeah.
Oh god, and the other person's making for the... Okay. Howell, in his horrific sort of Shadow of Moil-like form, where he's completely just like this, swinging this scythe around, shadowy mass, Howell's going to drop low to the ground, and glowing eyes coming through the darkness is going to sort of lope as fast as he can towards the person going for the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And Howell is going to try and attack them.
Okay.
Same thing again with advantage, because they can't... Assuming they've not got like any kind of true sight.
No.
These are not actual bad guys, are they? I don't like this. 16 to hit.
That will hit.
It's going to deal 10 damage. 20 damage, sorry.
20 damage. Yeah, same again. You cut into this person really badly. They kind of fall to the ground. Again, not dead, but very, very wounded.
These are definitely brie delivery men.
It's a...
You say you don't want to do this, yet you're not holding back.
No, but this is the thing. Howell, in his mind state, absolutely thinks that Ben is in danger. And Howell's not taking that risk of losing somebody. This, like...
Yeah, this...
Is Ben getting married anytime soon? Is this like a stag do hazing or something?
I don't know.
He's gone back to university. So...
They can afford it now.
It's at this point that you hear someone squelch. Well, you hear footsteps in the mud behind you, Howell.
Okay. Howell's gonna look over his shoulder.
All right. You see a figure standing in the darkness, in black armor.
Howell's got dark vision up to 60 feet.
Yes.
What can I make out about this person?
You would instantly recognise the silhouette of Uncle Thomas.
Oh
no! Seeing you standing, looking at him, he takes off his mask, his dark leather mask, and says, "Good, well done."
Howell, obviously, usually attacking twice, is still holding Gleipnir ready to swing again at this person on the ground.
Yeah.
And Howell's going to turn fully, or sort of half turn, towards who he believes to be Uncle Thomas and say, "What do you mean, well done?"
I needed to see how well you have come along at learning to protect yourself.
So are these your people then? Are these Zentarum, presumably?
Yes, Zentarum operatives.
Howell's going to throw Gleipnir blade end into the mud and say, "And what if I killed them?"
They would no longer be Zentarum operatives.
Ooh. That is cold, Dan.
He says... Sorry, go on.
Howell's going to shake his head, looking down at the two people that he's seriously wounded. They're still breathing, right?
Yeah.
And Howell's going to look at these two people bleeding into the mud and walk around the car, completely lowering his guard, and Howell, not lowering Shadow of Moil yet. Howell's going to climb the side of the car and, if I can, try and open up the sack.
Okay. While you're climbing around the side of it, Thomas keeps saying to you, keeps talking to you, and says, "Now that your admittedly powerful patron has been displaced, it's not unlikely that some of the protection that would otherwise have been afforded to you will also disappear. I need to make sure you can look after yourself." When you get to the top of the car, the sack inside the car is still wriggling. You see it's been tied up at the top with a rope, and it's very easy to undo the rope.
Who's inside?
Ben.
Oh my god, okay. Howell... Howell's going to help Ben out of the sack. What kind of state is Ben in? Is he like coherent or?
Ben is conscious. He is a little confused, and kind of like very concerned. He's currently wearing pajamas. He's wearing Génie's lamp branded pajamas.
As am I, presumably.
Yeah.
We all wear them.
He looks
They
very.
were last year's Christmas present.
Yeah, Secret Santa. You all got the same. He's very distressed. He's not used to being kidnapped.
Howell's going to look deeply ashamed and look towards Ben and say, "Oh, God, Ben, I'm so sorry."
Ben's got a rag over his mouth.
Taking that off completely.
Ben says, was this a test?
Not for you, and I'm sorry you got involved in this. Please go inside. I'll make this up to you later. You should be fine now. I'm so sorry.
Okay. He climbs down off the back of the cart, falls in the mud, gets up, and goes in the house.
The moment it's Howell, Uncle Thomas, and the two wounded Zentarum,
yeah.
Howell's going to climb down from the car and stand about 15 feet away from Uncle Thomas across from him and say, "I thought you said to me before that you didn't like the way my father handled things and the way my father was, and you appreciated that there was something in me that wasn't like him, that was like my mother. What the hell do you call this?"
I call this training. You also asked me to make sure that you knew how to protect yourself.
Yeah, but I didn't think that would involve people I care about being put into bags and other people I don't even know who probably have their own families and whatnot, or at least have friends being injured. I thought they were taking somebody I care about.
They were. That's the motivation, to make sure that you wouldn't hold back. There's no use training you, Howell, if it's going to be all training swords with blunted ends.
When the hell have you seen me hold back?
He says, he kind of is put on the back foot by that. And
Hal's going to continue pushing it if he's on the back foot.
Yeah.
Hal say, "I didn't hold back when I, murdered my father in Barovia. While you were here taking control of my family's inheritance, or trying to. When I came back, I thought we were going to try and work on this. You told me you didn't like the idea of losing family, and I felt the same way, and I really thought of you as an uncle. This is not in any way all right."
What exactly about this is objectionable? You haven't killed anyone. Your friend Mr. Benson was never in any real danger.
Howell pauses for a moment, just kind of letting that sit. He says, "How am I supposed to believe in the slightest that you are a person with any moral character if this is the kind of training you intend? You could have done this a number of different ways."
This is the way that I believe would be best suited to keeping you safe. Howell, there are only two things in this world that I care about. One is being leader of the Zentarum. The other is you. And I will stop at nothing to make sure that you are safe. I will do that by any means I choose, because I, as you rightly said, do not want to lose any more family. I simply won't allow it.
Hal pauses and, glaring a hole into the mud, responds and says, I once told you that I was more similar to my father than I wanted to admit. And you saying that you refuse to lose anyone else, well, I feel similarly. I think you're more like my father than you'd like to admit. I think your sister, my mother, would probably not be able to look you in the eye, having seen the way you're trying to train me. I thought by training me you would have meant, teaching me to fight better, or teaching me how to, I don't know, do things without the help of Silshard. But right now, I'm struggling to believe that you are not just some dirtbag leader of a criminal organization. I have to say, I don't have any issue with the Zentarum as an organization. Stealing and killing is sometimes necessary, but this was unnecessary.
He says, "It was necessary to me."
If this is the kind of training you can offer me, then I can guarantee I'm already far stronger than you could imagine.
Evidently, you almost dispatched these two operatives with ease. Next time I'll make it slightly more difficult.
If there is a next time to this, I won't stop, Uncle. I'll finish with you.
He smiles in the way that, for viewers at home and for the rest of you, I don't think Howell would quite clock this, but he is smiling in the way that you would if a toddler threatened you. He does not believe that his nephew would ever hurt him. To Howell, he's smiling in a way that kind of indicates to you that he's not taking this as seriously as you are, but you do sense that he is taking this seriously. To him, this is a very serious exercise.
Howell is going to take a long, lasting glare at his uncle and say, I don't think it's me that needs the training, really, right now. I think you need training on how to, frankly, interact with people and how to, have a bond with the people you are so keen on protecting. For as strong as this makes me, do you have any idea how much damage this has done to our relationship?
He says, if it keeps you alive, then I can live with you disliking me.
Howell's going to start walking, and just as he goes towards sort of the passing Uncle Thomas, looking to his side, Howell's going to say, I climbed my way out of the abyss, out of a closed room that my patron had been in for, frankly, as long as they could remember. I did that on my own, without you. I have nothing more to say to you.
Okay.
And Howell's going to start walking inside.
When you get towards the door, he says, have you made a decision what to do with Miss Dubois yet?
As Howell gets to the door, he's just going to stop and kind of like a hand against the wall and say, God damn it.
He says, when you find her, you better turn her over to us. Don't solve this problem in the way you usually do, by just shaking a magic 8-ball and hoping the right answer appears. And then he walks off. He goes to walk off.
I love it when people get the name of the stream into it. It's like the name of the film.
As Uncle Thomas walks away and just kind of leaves sort of earshot, because obviously Howell can't watch him leave. We never see him leave.
Yeah.
Howell is going to still in the rain, leaning against the bit of the wall next to the door. Howell's going to sort of pause and say, what is wrong with my family? And then Howell's going to go inside.
Okay.
He's probably tracking Mud all the way up the stairs back to his room.
All right.
Silshard is going to have to sweep up.
You go back to bed. And
nothing now.
Does Howell manage to fall asleep?
I really don't know. I think he'd try, but I think he's going to be struggling. Is that a con save, Dan?
It'd be a wisdom save or a charisma save.
Does he wake up and realise it was all a dream?
Make a charisma.
I really hope so.
Make a charisma
saving throw. Let's go. That's a 27.
Okay, no, it's not a dream. You do manage to fall asleep because you begin to start processing sort of what's gone on and begin to kind of rationalize bits of it and put reason to emotion in places, and you think your uncle genuinely does care about you and he wants to make sure you're safe, and that is what you are allowing yourself to believe in order that you can fall asleep. You'll deal with it more fully later. But you go to sleep, you all gain the full benefits of a long rest.
That's very generous of you giving that, Dan.
Any prepared spells that you need to switch out, you switch out. Who wakes up first?
Definitely not
Oriana needs to rest for 4 hours.
Right. So Oriana, when you get up, you see that there's a lot of mud that's been traipsed into the house overnight.
Strictly speaking, Alec doesn't need to sleep.
Yeah.
But Alec probably doesn't get up early though.
Alec has spent like the last 8 hours like listening to audiobooks.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like Alec in his room. You know the like the lo-fi beats to study to like YouTube channel. Alex looking through a book, writing some stuff down. I guess fancy headphones on. Meanwhile, in the background, there's a window where Howell's having this like death match outside in the yard, and he's covered in mud.
You know,
it's just a silk reliable just talking to him.
What was that, Miles?
You know, in Amazing Spider-Man, this scene with Stan Lee in the library.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Just.
So what happens once? So Oriana, you wake up probably closely followed by Génie and Alec. I imagine Howell will sleep in this morning as a result of that. But yeah, so a load of mud has been traipsed in and is in the direction of Howell's room. Ben
Oriana would...
doesn't.
Sorry.
When you get downstairs and you see Ben going about the morning, he doesn't look like he's slept.
Oh, Ben.
Oriana would absolutely use her winged boots to just fly over the mud.
Okay.
And she'd make herself a cup of coffee, and she'd also make one for Ben, and just kind of like, not saying anything, she'd just set it down next to him, nudge over the sugar, nudge over the milk, and be like, "You got this, kid." And just carry on making her breakfast.
Okay.
Does not care.
It's her way of caring.
All right. The rest of you get up.
On seeing the mud in the hallway, Alec is going to use prestidigitation to clean it.
All right. You wave your hand, the mud disappears. Howell, you wake up a little while later. The rest of you have breakfasted, and you're sort of just setting up the tavern for the day. Catching up on the post. Sending Piddlewick, your robotic child that doesn't speak, off to school. His friends, Nat, Jenks and Squiggly, stop by for breakfast as they do some mornings, and they go off. And Howell, you come downstairs just before the place is about to open for the morning breakfast rush.
I want to insight check those kids. What are they up to?
I want to insight check those kids.
Make a wisdom insight check on Nat, Jenks and Squiggly.
Why do they have to be up to something? They're literal children.
I don't trust them.
Has a dickhead on that we kind of... Well, it was...
Howell apparently has a dickhead uncle, so frankly, maybe you're right.
What did you get on the insight check?
6.
Those kids are definitely up to something.
Those kids are up to something. Those kids, they are up to something, I think. I should have to investigate.
Well, as long as the box isn't involved, I'm sure we'll be fine.
What they're up to is not studying for their exams. Piddlewick's report card, very poor performance. Although very good in art.
He's really good at finger painting.
Yeah. Although
his fingers turn his paintbrushes.
The quote from his teacher here is macabre. So maybe
it's like a gothic painting of like some noble in a ruffler with their head's a skull.
Also, no, we don't have oil paints. Why would you ask that?
So
also, we've got an electric bill here. Don't know what that is.
Howell, you get up and come downstairs. See your collaborators setting up shop. You know that you're a couple hours later up than you would otherwise be. Silshard seems kind of blissfully unaware of anything that may have gone on the night before, is helping Ben kind of restock one of the cupboards.
How does Ben seem to Howell? I mean,
Ben, to Howell. So Howell, you immediately can see that he has not slept a wink. He is a bit jittery, and you can see that there's an empty cup of coffee kind of stood nearby. You know that Ben doesn't usually drink coffee because it makes.
Does he say anything to us?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't say anything. He seems to be talking to Silshard, but they're talking about kind of the shop stock. The situation sort of thing. But yeah, you know you're up a couple hours late.
That Ben Silshard spin-off is going to be absolute fire. Anyway, Howell is going to walk through our cafe's sort of main seating area and sort of try to catch eye contact with each of his friends. In doing so, find an empty booth and kind of just sit in a sort of very obviously troubled way. Like he's going to sit there sort of hands in his lap, occasionally putting his hand on his head and things like that, and just kind of wait.
Okay. The rest of you see this.
Oriana will sigh in a slightly dramatic but slightly affectionate manner, grab another cup, fill it with coffee, come over, set it down by Howell, set the sugar down, set the milk down, and she'll just sit next to him sipping her own coffee like, yeah, you can tell me in your own time, I'm just going to drink.
It's a really intense stare, though.
Oh yeah, she's just watching Howell like, are you going to drink the coffee? You better fucking drink that coffee.
Howell is going to take the coffee and smile warmly at Oriana and say, thanks, I really don't know what I'd do without you all. Something happened last night. A few years ago I wouldn't have wanted to tell you, but I know better.
You're stuck with us now, so...
my uncle came over, shall we say, last night, and it wasn't his usual visit.
Oh, joy.
You've seen Ben this morning, I assume?
Yeah, he actually drank the coffee I gave him.
Wow.
It's mildly concerning.
My uncle must have really, really done a number on his mental health. That's quite sad.
Why is he harassing our staff? He gets free drinks.
Yeah, I know. God knows he should pay for them.
Oh, he's definitely paying for them now.
Yeah, look, I need to speak to the others as well. This changes the way I feel about the current situation. And Hal's going to kind of try and wave over the party and be like...
Hang on, I've got to adjust some prices on this chalkboard.
The breeze price goes up.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been meaning to do that for days, but I just cannot reach.
Free and bacon sandwich. 2 gold.
Brie and leek
5
soup.
silver.
Yeah, the reason that you're running out of brie is that literally everything in this cafe comes with brie.
After Alec has changed 500 entries on the menu. There we go. That should balance us back to being not losing money on brie. What did you want to talk about?
So once people kind of sat around, Howell will explain just in as much detail as possible most things that happened last night, but Howell is going to skimp on a few of the details about the meditation app because Howell still isn't sure whether that was pure paranoia or not. But Howell will mention that he saw the cart outside and went to investigate. And then once Hal's done explaining what happened, Hal will then say, look, I really wanted to ask my uncle about the whole thing with the carts from the convoy from Luskan to Neverwinter, but given last night, I think it's evident that Uncle Thomas is a lot more extreme than I wanted to believe. I realise that's probably silly, given that he was part of the consensus at one point. Who tried to take over the world, kind of. Yes, he betrayed them, but no, that that changed the way I see my relationship to him. I think we need to help Cecile get away from Uncle Thomas as fast as possible.
Do you think that it means handing her over to the Harpers, or just... I personally, I think she has to pay for the crimes that she has committed, the thieving of the tears, the break-ins, etc.
I agree, but I'm not sure that Lord Ilvastarr has the truest form of justice in mind anyway. I feel like capturing Cecile is far more about gratifying his own ego than it is administering any type of justice.
Absolutely.
What if we... I'm still trying to set this up so we can make Lord Ilvastarr and the Watchful Order look incompetent. What if we fake hand her over to the Harpers, then the Harpers hand her over to Lord Ilvastarr, then she escapes, and then profit? ?
And then the Harpers recapture her, fake her death.
Maybe.
Well, faking her death's actually easier.
I think
because
that
all
is
we need
honestly
to do
the
is
easy part.
steal a dead body, do a
Or we
fireball.
can make one.
We could
Or
make
just
a
have,
dead body. Yes.
or just
but
just
that
have
involves
some
killing
witnesses.
someone.
We could just have some witnesses who would say that you disintegrated her, and then we do not need a dead body.
I do have an inordinate amount of dust in my room.
I will send Still Shadow to sweep.
And like past form for disintegrating people at random.
It's not at random. It's perfectly rational.
It's what my character would do.
Howell's going to sort of, muse on these ideas with the party and then say, whatever we do with Cecile, the fact that Uncle Thomas tried to kidnap Ben last night as a means of training me or toughening me up or whatever misguided attempt he was making means that the longer I'm here, the longer that our friends are in danger. I almost feel as if it might be worth suggesting we take Cecile and we go somewhere else until this is resolved. My uncle has just shot up from someone who I thought was an ally to a genuine threat to, well, everyone, and I should have known that after the whole ordeal with the consensus and Tartarus.
Maybe we go with for having hope.
What was that? Sorry.
You shouldn't fault yourself for having hope. You've had shitty family members. It makes sense that you'd want one of the last few to still be good.
Not worth it if it gets people hurt. My issues aside, I think the best idea now might be to, I don't know, leave Silshard and Ben and Lyra here, and, maybe
burn
we go...
your uncle's house down.
I really don't want it to come to that, but the more I spend time with my family, the more I think maybe that's the right call. What I was going to say is maybe we go with Cecile to Cormyr and do things that way.
If it is possible, I would not like to leave here without some protection. If we can hold on one more day, I can set up some protective glyphs around the
cafe.
That is the word. Thank you. I've still not quite got a grasp on the language.
That would work, and also, frankly, as domestic as they have become, I wouldn't discount. Hal's going to look over to Silshard, probably putting up some boxes of brie or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't discount my patron's ability to defend this place. They're playing nice now, but let's remember who they are.
You say that, and Silshard falls backwards off of the stool that they were balancing on, and boxes of brie come tumbling down as well. There's just kind of like a... Ah!
No, let me help you. And I'll scurry over, and for every two I put back in the box, I'll put one in my bag.
Howell
Sasha,
gestures
you clearly
towards
haven't done
this.
your health and safety training. That was very poor form on the removal from shelf.
Bend your knees.
That's for
How-
lifting. Get it right.
We pay you to do your training. Do your training.
Howell gestures towards that fiasco and say,
Imagine getting paid for your training.
"Look, I swear, they're a very great and powerful demon. They're kind of like Bambi right now, though. But they're still very powerful."
We do also have Lyra. She's not exactly useless.
No, far from it.
There
Ben's
is
good with numbers.
Ben count good.
a door, the front door opens and rings the little bell that is
The front door.
opens
Mordor? Gondor.
Hodor, and rings a bell, and in steps Laurel.
Great timing.
Ah, good morning. Bonjour.
Bonjour, Génie.
Would you like anything from the cafe? From the menu? We have a special on brie at the moment. Fresh.
Wonderful. I simply can't get enough. She says. And she says, the brie
A
fondue.
woman after my heart.
The brie fondue, please.
Ah, no worries. I will go get it for you now.
She
500 gold.
she looks over towards all of you and says, well, Cassius is supposed to be meeting us here, I think. I don't know if he managed to get some sleep in the end. I hope so.
So if needs be, I have something that can knock him out.
Oh,
Howell's going to do like a
Decent hours.
kind of movement. What the hells do you mean by that, Ariana?
I have chloroform.
Don't chloroform Cassius, please.
It'll get him some sleep for a few hours. He'll be out like a light. It's fine.
We can put him in your bed. I'm sure he'd be quite comfortable there.
Howell kind of goes towards Génie and then turns back to Ariana and says, honestly, maybe that would do him some good, so just don't do it in any way that he can see you.
See, I'm not wrong, am I?
Also, I feel like if someone can see you when you're attempting to chloroform them, you're very bad at chloroforming someone.
Yeah.
Laurel, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I'm sure Ariana is perfectly capable of chloroforming somebody.
He is much stronger than I am, so that would be a problem.
Laurel says, why don't we wait and see if he has actually had any sleep before we decide on any course of action?
It's a good point.
It's always good to plan ahead.
Yes, it is. Although,
Like we don't.
Although, despite me planning ahead, I still got ousted from my job, but I'm not sour about that at all. Did you make... I waited as long as I could yesterday before I had to run some errands. Did you find this thief?
Teleportation issues. We didn't get anywhere near it.
Oh, drat. Could you make, please, a charisma persuasion check? It's not deception, but also you aren't telling the whole truth.
Okie dokie. 24.
Okay.
Wow.
It's good, it's good.
She rolled a nat 20 on the die.
Oh.
So that for her...
Look, I can do that too, Dan. Look.
Now, I know damn well Laurel Silverhand is not low level. This could get spooky.
Yeah. She says...
Before you tell us the total, Dan,
Yeah.
if I portent a creature, do they know it's happened to them?
Oh, good question. No, it doesn't say that it does or not. So she has So just to let you know, she has a plus 11 to insight, so that was a 31 on her insight check.
Well,
What
I would like to
level is
portent
she?
her to a 4.
Okay, so that's a 15 compared to the 24 on persuasion. So she kind of looks a little like, come on, surely you're better than that, like, more capable than that. And then she's like, maybe they have had a difficult few days. She says, oh, that's a shame. This thief is really our only lead. Did you find out anything?
Howell is visibly uncomfortable. It kind of looks towards Alec.
Did we tell Laurel that she left the Zentirum?
No, you've not told Laurel anything.
We hadn't met with either of them between.
Well, well, Al-Zalam Thomas Blackwood told you that Cecile Dubois had left the Zentarum and that he wanted her back, that she'd broken her oath. I think you told Laurel that as well. So Laurel knows that, but doesn't know any more details. She says, she says, I was really rather hoping that some progress would be made. Ilvastarr is preparing to order that the Harpers... I haven't told Cassius this yet. I don't really want to put his blood pressure up any more than it already is. Ilvastarr is preparing to order the Harpers stand down from security and begin to have the Watchful Order take on much more greater responsibilities. He's reviewing their charter and giving them more powers. Soon they will be both the public security order for magic in the city, but also the private intelligence gathering service. Ilvastarr, I think, intends to scale the Harpers back entirely.
Because that service did absolutely fantastic at protecting the museum.
She says, I still think it was an interesting choice of venue. Ilvastarr isn't even... Ilvastarr usually enjoys showing off his connections. That's not even a museum that he was patron of. I would have thought he'd probably have wanted it somewhere that he could have had a poster of his face on display or something.
Wasn't even patron of the museum. They don't even have dental.
Oh, he'll do that for the next one. That he won't invite us to, because he knows for a fact that the only attack that'll happen in the next one is one he'll stage to make the Watchful Order look good.
Laurel says, it really is something. By the way, there's something I haven't yet lost all of my connections with my former colleagues. And I think that there's one piece of information that I should share with you. I spoke to a friend of mine who works for the diplomatic office, and she was telling me that a little while ago, a few weeks ago, Ranulf Ilvastarr met with the Queen of Cormyr. I don't see... Ordinarily, that wouldn't mean anything, but given that a few weeks later he's installed as Open Lord of Waterdeep, I've been checking up on everything he's been doing. And 2 weeks ago, he met with the Queen. He was on an official visit. A Waterdavian... Waterdeep has been trying to... One of the last projects I was involved in was trying to form closer relationship between Cormyr and Waterdeep, and we've been trying for a while to negotiate a sort of alliance with Queen Raedra, and Lord Ilvastarr was part of the delegation that I sent. It's not unusual in that instance, but the fact that he was on that delegation and spoke to the Queen, I thought was particularly interesting. He was the only individual to have a one-on-one conversation with the Queen.
How really...
T and A mean anything to you in the context of a name?
I know. Alec, I've lived several hundred years. I know many names.
In Cormyr itself?
She will have a think. She says, the only person I can think of is Thurgon Adlevo.
Now, that's not a made-up name. That's way further down the alphabet than it should be if it was.
He says, she says, he's the equivalent of Commander Morden. He's the palace wizard at the royal palace in Suzail.
Can you say the name again so I can write it down, please?
Thurgon, Thergon, Adlevo, Adlevo. Adlevo.
Adlevo. Adlevo.
Yeah, Thurgon Adlevo.
Howell is going to make a very, very pleading look at, like, each other person in the party at the table, very much trying to say with his face, I really think we should tell Laurel about what we know.
Alec is doing the look of, like, do we tell her?
Génie is gonna turn to Laurel
Sorry, you're gone.
and say, we did find some evidence, but we did not find Cecile herself. We did find some papers that she left behind. This is where we have come across the letters TA that we are asking about. It is only a little bit of evidence, but
She
it
says,
is all we left behind. It was just a few papers, scraps of paper.
She says, well, I have two questions. First is, may I see the papers? And the second one can wait.
What is the second one?
Can I see it? No.
I'll pull the letter out of my pocket.
She says,
If you second question, you can look at the papers.
I wanted to ask why you felt it necessary to keep this from me.
We are having quite an issue with who to trust at the moment. Howell had a
rough night,
yeah.
for a lack of a better term, and
We are keeping our cards very close to our chest at the moment, just to make sure none of us get hurt. I hope you do not take that in offense.
She says, it's difficult not to be offended by it, but I do understand where you're coming from. I do understand.
Plus, you never know who might be listening in.
This is true.
Howell's going to take a pleading look at Laurel and say, we're in a bit of a difficult position. It's not that we don't trust you, because believe me, that isn't true. Fact of the matter is, it's more a case of we're afraid of what will happen if it is found out that we have told you, or that your reaction might, well...
It's fine, it was the right way around.
Oh, thank God.
Your reaction might, well, accelerate things.
She says, I have no powers anymore. The members of the Harpers are still loyal to me, but I'm not going to instruct them to disobey the Open Lord of Waterdeep. I have no influence, and even if I did know whatever it is you're afraid to tell me, there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I'm powerless now. She says, Cassius, on the other hand, and she looks very warningly at you, would be duty-bound to act on any information that you give him. He is a member of the Harpers. He has sworn allegiance to the Open Lord, like it or not. And I, for one, would want him to fulfill any promises that he makes. He may see it differently.
Howell kind of looks vaguely constipated, and says,
Can you?
Do you mean consternated?
No, constipated. He looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, he's making a really I don't like this face.
All right.
Okay.
Not literally.
Can someone clip just that little bit, please?
Don't say that. I can't.
Howell
Stop clipping me.
Yeah.
Just tweet it at Connor.
Great.
Let me just dox Connor.
Wait, to be fair, to all of our viewers, you can do. That'll only gain followers. But anyway, Howell looks difficult about it, shall we say, and says, right, and I agree, and I think you're probably right, but you're definitely right. But also, maybe I'm a sap, but I don't much like the idea of withholding information from Cassius. I think that maybe I'm being selfish, but our relationship is already rocky, and I think lying to him or withholding information from him when he so clearly cares about the scenario is only going to make things worse. And I know that's me being selfish, but I'd like to avoid that if possible.
Then how about this? Laurel, you know Cassius the best out of all of us at this point in time.
Howell glares at Oriana like...
That's why I said at this point in time. There's plenty of time for you guys to canoodle, but that's beside the point.
Do I hear wedding bells in the future?
Do we have your word? And Oriana's gonna look Laura like dead in the eye, completely straight face. Anything we tell you must stay between us. No one else.
She says, I can promise you that with all certainty.
Insight check. I want to see if she's crossing her fingers or her toes.
Make
Laurel's not
wisdom
going to
insight
lie
check.
to us.
I'm going to
There's no way Laurel's going to lie to us.
22.
22?
Oh, okay.
Also, just for
19.
the true sight purposes, is this Laurel?
Yes, this is Laurel. I would have told you if not, because you can see through all illusion.
You can't see through disguises, though.
No.
Laurel takes off a wig and it's Charles Axel.
As far as you are aware, Alec, this is indeed Laurel. The other three of you have seen Laurel being very sincere before, and this is Laurel being sincere.
Perfect.
Brilliant. We will take this to another, more private room.
All right.
The Brie room.
The Brie room. Instead of the Brie room, it's the Brie room.
I like the sound of this room.
I knew I needed to fix the letters on that sign.
Okay, you go into the back room, which is now the Brie room, apparently.
It's full of Brie. We've had to change an office into a Brie storage room.
The Brie bit
briefing
flashing.
Room. Yeah.
So people have been subliminally messaged about Brie.
Instead of briefing. I like that. Okay, you go in, you close the door, you sit down.
I think we tell Laurel... I mean, this is me speaking as a person, not a character, by the way, before I say this. I think we tell Laurel everything now. Go do it. That's what I'd say.
I mean, do it in person, we can't stop you.
I'd leave out
in person being
I'd leave out Cecile's name. Not give anything to Laurel that could be used for scrying.
Cool. If no one else does, then Howell... Yeah, Howell will basically describe what we know, but leave out any detail that could lead to Cecile being scryed upon, basically.
Okay.
Are you telling her about the list that has her name on?
What I need you to do then, the four of you, if you wish to divvy it up between you, what I need you to do is tell me what you are telling Laurel. Don't let me assume what you are and aren't. So, what are you telling Laurel?
I assume that we're going to tell Laurel that we have met. We weren't entirely truthful in the first place. That we have indeed met with this said thief. That she is now on the run from the Zentarum, under employment from TA to steal at least one of the King's Tears. And she has offered us a form of ultimatum to either hand her into either the Zentarum or the Harpers, or to help her and fake her death so that she can go free from the Zentarum that are chasing her down, in some words or another. And that she has agreed to come to us and be put under the terms of a gaze
Goosey spell.
Geese spell. for an amount of time. That we have the letter, we have some plans of the heist, i.e. the food thing. Do we want to say about the letter, the notes about who has what King's Tier that has Laurel's name on?
I would ask about that because I said I wanted to talk to Laurel about that before.
I think everything other than what could
Their name is.
potentially,
She.
Okay.
So
we'll tell her about the list of people and potential locations of the King's Tiers, but I want to watch for her reaction as we either tell her or she sees the list and sees her name.
Okay, make a wisdom insight check.
I will do the same.
I thought you were putting the dice in your mouth then.
No, I mean...
the absolute power that Tony would exude if they'd just put the dice in their mouth and then spat it out and gone, nat 20.
Don't, I really want to try that now.
No, don't do that.
That's what you do when your dice roll badly. You eat the terrible ones to establish dominance.
Did Alistair just do it?
Yeah.
I got a better roll than when I rolled with my hand.
Okay, what did you get when you rolled with your hand?
A wheat.
In common? 8?
Yes.
Alright. And
24.
Okay. Both of you, you do not see any kind of surprise sort of thing. She looks at it as though it's a matter of fact.
Pen is magnetic.
Shut up.
Is it a metal pen by any chance?
Yeah.
Well, then that doesn't surprise me.
No, go back to Laurel's reaction, please.
She looks at the list as though it is a matter of fact.
If she doesn't react, I will say, do you have anything to say about the fact that your name is on the list? Are you indeed in ownership of a King's Tier now? Are you choosing not to tell us something?
It's not a case of now. I've always owned a King's Tier. It's been in my family for many generations before me. Yes, I own a King's Tier.
That was definitely worth mentioning earlier, by the way, Laurel, but thank you.
We didn't know that all the King's Tiers were being targeted and that this wasn't just one random jewelry heist. I didn't want to make connections before. These gems are incredibly important.
And I see it.
Yes.
Ariana moments before putting a King's Tier in her mouth.
Just eating some brie. It's like, can I see it?
Gets brie fingers all over the King's Tier.
She says, it's in my family's vault back on Evermeet. She wouldn't have... This thief of yours wouldn't have gotten anywhere near it.
How soon would we be able to get there?
Evermeet?
I don't think you just walk into Evermeet, really.
So several months by boat, and only if you've got an elf at the helm who knows their way to Do you know your way to Evermeet?
It's a very good question.
Is it on the map?
So you would know that Evermeet is on the map. People know where it is. But in order to sail to it, you have to have been shown its location by someone else who knows its location. If you try to sail there on your own, you will never reach it.
Is it west?
Is that common knowledge, the way you just said there?
I mean, you're a half-elf.
Would I know the rough direction of it? North, south, east, west?
It is west of the Sword Coast.
So it's not on the map that I'm looking at?
No, at the edge of the map it will say to Evermeet and point in a direction.
Well, it doesn't.
Different map then, but it's off the map. In
Howell,
that sense.
Howell's going to address Laurel and say, Do you know how to get to Evermeet, or do you know the way to Evermeet?
Yes.
Could you show Ariana, or is that not doable?
She says, it would be possible, certainly.
I mean...
I have to literally show you. I have to take you to Evermeet.
Oh!
Oh, we probably don't have time for that yet. Shit.
Not just
I thought
yet.
it was like a...
But don't worry, that King's Tier is not being stolen anytime soon. It will be there when we clear up this whole mess.
Are you able to communicate
Top 10
with
things
anyone
people
there?
say before losing a King's Tier.
Yes, I can send a message to my family there.
Is it worth just doing, just a casual conversation and then just slip in? Like, oh, by the way, is that secret jewel in the vault still there?
I can certainly do that. That wouldn't be a problem.
Another weird question.
Yes.
Before we carry on. Have you ever held the King's Tier?
Yes.
Brilliant. And Oriana will reach into her pocket and she'll pull out the container for all of the souls that she has.
Rattle it.
And she will...
It's like a biscuit tin.
Tapping on their enclosure.
Yeah. She'll take one out.
Yeah.
And they're kind of almost like little glass vials.
Yep.
Sealed test tube kind of shit. And she will hold one out for Laurel.
Yep.
Feel like this.
She holds it and says, do you mean physically?
Yeah, like the same vibe.
Did you just ask Laurel Silverhand for a vibe check?
Metaphysically, one might say.
Yeah.
She says, I don't know. I don't feel...
Ecumenically?
I don't feel anything about this.
Okie dokie, I'm gonna take that back.
Okay. She says...
Just take it back, put it in, look
She
it
says,
away.
by the way, whose soul was that I just had in my hand?
Yours! I cast this... No.
She'll take the box out again, flick through. Zentarum agent.
Ah, okay.
Number 3.
Yeah.
I remember what killed that guy. The curses of a photographic memory.
So, you got up to that point of telling her about the King's Tier, and the list of. You've also mentioned TA, and I've now shown her that letter. So that is that as much information as you want to give her?
I don't know what other information we have. I mean,
Howell is going to mention and say, given the situation being what it is, we might well end up spending some more time with this person who's made this proposition to us. If nothing else, to gather some more information on our own terms to find out the truth of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a bit of a stalemate wherein we kind of have to go along with what they're asking of us, at least for now, until we can weigh up what we think the morally right thing here to do is. I hope you can understand that.
Yes, I can.
Do you think that if we told Cassius about the situation where we might be meeting up with this person, we could agree a way for him to hand over this person to Ralph and his right-hand person, I figured the name of, that they can then put them in their prison, that we can then help them to escape from their prison, make Ralph and this wizard group look bad, and then do what we want with this thief?
She says, I am quite sure Cassius would be a huge supporter of that plan.
Okay, we have not suggested this with the thief, so we do not know what they would say about being handed over to the Apples. They were not so keen on it the last time we conversed, so...
I mean, that way, that allows the Harpers to look good in the matter, and that also allows us to hopefully prevent more innocent deaths, or at least loss of life.
She says, going over this in my mind, we have a thief contracted to steal King's Tears. No longer can we consider this a random break-in. They were there specifically for the tier. You have a letter signed TA and the address of the Royal Palace in Suzale, asking about one of the other King's Tears, contracting her to steal more than one. It appears then that others have been stolen. She says, Point 1, somebody steals a King's Tear. Point 2, someone connected with Cormyr insists on this thief stealing multiple King's Tears. Point 3, a King's Tear is stolen at the inauguration gala of the Open Lord of Waterdeep, who a few months ago, 6 months ago to be precise, was in Cormyr and had a private meeting with the Queen. 1 is happenstance, 2 is coincidence, 3 is a pattern. I think it is worth investigating in Cormyr exactly what is going on.
I think we need to get the board out and get the red string, you know?
Yes, Oriana's famous conspiracy board. Yes, please
Is it really
do.
that famous?
Ariana gets flustered. Like,
She says, you once used it in my office.
Also, do you
Make
remember
an excellent point.
Do you remember when we
Yeah.
went on that drinking event with those Harper agents? We used it then as well.
That's a good point, yeah.
There is a knock at the door.
Use it in the middle of the crisis battlefield, for Christ's sake.
Howell's
you're
gonna
right.
sigh and go and open the door.
Okay, it's Cassius.
Howell's gonna open the door and go, oh, it's Cassius. Ah, Cassius!
Shuts the door in his
He
face.
nearly shuts the door.
There is like a confused knock at the door.
Howell kind of turns
There's
around.
nobody home! He's coming
I
in later.
opened the door.
Um,
Oh, Cassius, what an unexpected surprise.
literally,
says-
Howell... Yeah.
He just says, is Laurel here? I came to speak to Laurel.
Howell's gonna open the door and like Mal's they're saying, wow, Cassius, what a surprise visit.
I
How are
didn't see
you?
you there.
Yeah. Anyway, is Laurel here?
Yeah, she's in here. Howell likes to step aside and kind of look very embarrassed.
He will move past you. So he will turn to Laurel and say, well, looks like you were right. He says, we've just had the order through. Harper presence is to be scaled back. Commander Morden is conducting a full review of operations. The High Harpers have agreed that scaling the organisation back and the watchful order to be tipped to take over covert surveillance that we undertake. Apparently, scrying is better, I'm told, than having someone disguised as a cheese salesman hanging around cafes for gathering information. The watchful
That's
order.
a lie.
The watchful order will be taking over that soon. He says, the Harpers have also been given several slightly confusing tasks to perform. He says, I checked in and there was no order to suppress any information related to previous thefts of King's Tears or indeed any information about the possible attack on the gala. There was no order to suppress it. There just was no trait. It just simply wasn't passed up. This was a suspicion that we had last time, and I managed to confirm it. But also, the Harpers have been asked to reopen an 80-year-old case, an investigation that he says that's completely out of the blue. But the order came from middle management, the same level of the organisation that signed away that there was nothing to worry about higher up. That seems too coincidental. It's an old murder case, the murder of a Samuel Hagen. It's been reopened for about a month at this point. It didn't come from Laurel. Laurel says, no, I pass everything through you, Cassius. I don't know anything about that case. If something's going on with the Harpers, if Ranulf wants to scale... she says, Ilvastarr, if Lord Ilvastarr is looking to scale back the Harpers, then it's likely he'll want to close this case soon. And he says, Cassius says, no, Commander Morden has asked specifically about progress on this investigation. Laurel says, well, that seems rather counterintuitive. If he doesn't want the Harpers to be investigating anything and doesn't want the Harpers to have a presence in the city, why is he bothered about the results of this particular investigation? Cassius says, well, it's an 80-year-old cold case. It was a supposed... It was an accused murder. The accused was never found, and no one's quite sure what happened. It was just consigned to the cold cases unit and eventually closed, but it was reopened a month ago. Laurel says, keep an eye on that one.
I mean, 80 years, that's pre-Second Sundering. There's not...
Who the hell is Samuel Hagen?
Don't cold cases need new evidence to be reopened? If it's 80 years old, surely any feasible evidence would have been gone by now.
Cassius says, from what I understand, they were passed the name of a suspect to investigate.
Pray tell.
What name?
I don't know. I don't know the name of the suspect. But that's the only other reason. Aside from new evidence, which, you're right, an 80-year-old case, it's unlikely for there to be new physical evidence. If they were passed a suspect to investigate, and that led to some new evidence being discovered, then the case could conceivably be kept open.
Interesting.
Cassius also says, but at any rate, if the Harpers are scaled back, then the Zentarum will be free to operate. The Harpers are the only thing that are keeping the Zentarum in check at the moment. If the Harpers are scaled back in any way, I'm afraid it's going to give Al-Zalam and the Zentarum more license and more ability to expand their operations along the Sword Coast, which wouldn't be good for anyone.
At least that would not look good for our friend Ralph over there in the big castle.
No, this is true, but I'm sure he'd still find some way to blame it on us. Then have us wound up altogether.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me.
Unless he's working with the Zentarum.
If the Zentarum and Ranulf Ilvastarr want to tear each other apart, I'm beginning to become increasingly willing to let them. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, Laurel says, well, before we allow the Open Lord of Waterdeep and the leader of one of the most dangerous criminal organisations in the world to have a fist fight on the streets of Waterdeep, perhaps we should make sure that this current business is tied up first. It sounds like you have a trip to... What's wrong with this cat? It sounds like you have a trip to Cormyr coming up.
Perfect timing.
And she says... Go on.
You say that.
She says...
I want to go for holiday.
No.
Yeah. So Laurel says, sounds like you should probably go to Cormyr. I will appraise Cassius of the information you've given me, and she says that very meaningfully when she looks at you and says it, and says,
winks all round.
Yeah, and says, and we'll concoct some sort of plan to act on the information that you have. I suppose you should wait and see your friend when they arrive, but in the meantime, prepare for a trip to Cormyr, and I'll send Jarl Axel with some information for you. He'll be disguised as a lost mountaineer.
Love it.
Cassius looks at her and says, Laurel, the nearest mountain's like 250 miles away. She says, well,
very lost.
She says, that's how they'll know that he's lost. And with that, we will wrap up our session for today.
I'm so glad that we've resolved this moral dilemma that has been churning in me for however long since we last played.
What do you mean resolved? There's way more layers.
No, but at least
peel away layers of the onion of interpretation.
We have a plan of action to an extent.
When are Howell's family going to chill out?
Never.
Hey, your uncle, as he said, cares about two things. Only two things in this world: being the leader of the Zentarum and you. And he's not willing to sacrifice either of those.
Yeah, but look at their priority order he put those in.
Yeah.
Being the leader of the Zentarum and you.
Listen, all I'm saying is Howell as a character is very conflicted. Me as a player, I want to suplex his uncle.
Yeah.
He was just making sure that you could keep yourself safe. He was worried about you.
Howell could fold him like laundry.
What level is Laurel?
Scared and horny.
So Laurel is a CR 17.
What level is Uncle Thomas?
When he was Nemesis, he was CR 19. Yeah.
See
What is he
what?
now?
Now.
19.
Did you not remember that?
He's now no longer in possession of a magic staff, but is in possession of the entirety of the arsenal of the Zentarium. So probably higher level than that again.
He's probably
But
got like a
he
rocket
himself,
He
if we corner him,
1-8 noble.
if we corner him, he hasn't got the entire Zentarium army unless he happens to have a knapsack with it all in.
We will find out if you ever corner Al-Zalam on his own, how powerful he may or may not be. But in the meantime, thank you very much for those of you who have joined watching. There have been several quotes from that episode that I'm going to make sure to clip and make sure we've got kind of as little one-off sound alerts, perhaps. Eventually, when you're able to redeem things on this channel, I'm thinking having Howell's quote and even a few things of Alistair's that was said.
This pen is magnetic.
Yeah, and that I think would make
when the pen is magnetic.
I think that would make a very good subscriber alert. When we
I think we should go with the wanker under fraud. Also, I've had this burning in my head for the last 10 minutes. The watchful order of wankers and frauds.
Well, with that, please do...
Hang on. Dan, everyone watching the stream, it is Dan's birthday today. If anyone wants to say happy birthday to Dan in the chat, they should do. Happy birthday, Dan.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I will cut you off. I will cut you off.
Alec is losing level.
Birthday.
You're losing XP by the bar.
You.
I've stopped.
Good. Okay. So if you could be quiet.
Silence.
So
Sweetie won't be with us.
if you aren't already following this channel, please do follow it. We would like to get to 50 followers reasonably soon. And if you want to keep an eye out for when our next game will be, please follow at TheAglarion on Twitter, and you can also go to our website at TheAglarion.com, which will have follow-up blogs to this episode as well as links to the VOD. Please do share it far and wide if you've enjoyed watching today. We remain who we are, and we will see you all again, hopefully very, very soon. It's been a pleasure. Goodbye.